Hi, Dr. Lenny.
Hello, hi.
Any idea why I decided to have you on this particular month?
I think it's because it's the Mental Health Awareness Month, and we were going to be talking about mental health awareness, right?
Definitely
Okay.
something that is in very much in your area of expertise. This is my second time having Dr. Lenny on the podcast. I had her on, I think, maybe a year plus ago.
A year plus ago? Really? That long ago?
Oh, it's more than a year,
Wow.
Dr.
More
Lenny.
than a year, I
Yes,
think.
I
Yeah.
think around 14, 15 months. Yeah,
Yes.
I really enjoyed that episode back then. For anyone that's interested, yeah, go and check it out. I think it was episode 34 or something like that. Yeah, but also really interesting stuff. And yeah, we are back here again.
Thanks for inviting me back.
No worries, Dr. Lenny, a pleasure. Do you want to just briefly introduce yourself?
Professionally, I'm a neuro counseling psychologist, so I'm a psychologist. And but I like to think of myself more like a mind hacker. I like to hack minds. So it's always been my interest, my passion to learn about the art of how the mind works and the art of how to access the unconscious, the subconscious mind, and to make it work to the advantage of my patients and of course myself first lah. So that's how it kind of
And you've been in this industry for a long, long time, right?
yes,
How
very
long has
long,
it been?
33 decades.
Did you spend most of your working life in Malaysia?
No. I spent most of my working life out of Malaysia. I've been back here since 2006.
That's actually quite a while.
Quite a while back, right?
You
Yes.
doesn't feel like it, is it?
It doesn't feel like it.
Where
Time passed so far. Seriously,
where were you before this?
I was in Japan for 10 years.
Okay.
Prior to Japan, I was in Egypt
Wow.
for a year. And then prior to that, I was in Australia lah.
So you would say, already half your career in Malaysia? Is that fair to say?
It is fair to
Yeah.
say.
Well,
In 2006, I broke my neck. So that's why when I came back here for a
Mm.
vacation, broke my neck. So kind of like stayed on after that. It was like, life is like that. Like everything is by chance, right? So this is like a by chance thing. So then, I came back. And when I was in Japan, I was actually working for a bank rather than in a clinic or anything like that.
but in what role did you hold at the
Trading,
bank?
but
Trading.
because at that time bond trading was very very new,
Uh-huh.
and we were looking at we were reintroducing psychology into trading. That's when you first heard the term like herd mentality. All these kind of very very at that time unique terms was first starting. That means the introduction of how people decides on how they are going to invest their money became very interesting for economists and for bankers and for traders and for the whole economic system. We wanted, it's not just about the economy is going up, the GDP is going up, the GMP is like this, or our resources is being is being reduced and all that, but it's more about why do people invest in this? Why is this country, they were looking at things from a more emotional basis
Yes.
rather than statistical basis. And so that's why they were very open to hiring people who have a psychological background back then.
I wanted to ask, like, were you actually doing sales or something? Yeah.
I think I'll be a very good salesperson,
You
but
think so?
I think so. But I don't know, not really. I was more in analysis. I was
Have
analyzing.
you ever been dabbled in any sort of sales work?
Not really. I mean, everybody dabbles in sales.
Yes, I understand.
I mean, we are all salesperson. Every single human being is a salesperson because we are constantly put in a position where we are selling ourselves. Even from the day that we are born, we are trying to sell ourselves to our parents. Otherwise, they will just drown us or something.
Yeah.
We are constantly trying to, market ourselves. So I feel that marketing ourselves and the sales job thing is a lifestyle
Yep.
more so than and everybody's an entrepreneur as well, right? Because you are really for yourself in most of the things.
Well, I would assume because I was in sales, recruitment and real estate for 2.5 years, right? I got to actually see the it wasn't too long of a time that I spent in sales, but I actually got to see like the sort of the nature of the business, whereby the stereotypes and the cliches that you hear about the industry, the people at the top, the ones that are always doing really well, they don't really care much about anything else other than their personal benefits, from little white lies to probably big lies, that were sort of necessary in most of the top sales people that I've actually met. And also you were saying like most people, like all of our life all of our lives we are actually trying to sell ourselves. Well, some people are introverts, they don't actually like socializing. I think because they try to stray away from the effort of selling themselves. Is that correct?
Introverts are also it's an innate ability for all humans to kind of like market and sell themselves.
What do you mean?
Even a baby, the day that the baby is born, the baby is trying to attract the attention of another person. So sales is about, in my definition of sales, and perhaps in yours, it's about attracting the attention of somebody, influencing someone in a certain way to like the product, buy the product, look at the product, engage with the product. So the psychology behind that is actually part of our survival instincts. It's not, but later on, of course, when it becomes formalized, and then we said, okay, this is like a sales job, and let's say employees, right? Everybody says, oh, I want to be an employee, I want to be a government servant. Even if you're an employee, even if you're a government servant, right, you're still working for yourself. Do you see that?
No, please.
Okay, so let's say if you are working for a company, you're still working for yourself. You're still an entrepreneur because you're going into this company, right? This company got no obligation towards you other than how well you perform. So what you are giving to the company, your performance, is actually the service that you are selling to the company. Let's say if you come in as a HR manager, then your service as a HR manager is kind of like you're selling the HR manager service to this company for money. So in that way, you are basically working for yourself, right?
I think I get you, but it's sort of you kind of explain it in a more complicated way.
Okay, you explain it in a simpler way to me.
Because you're working for that company, but ultimately the company is interested in what you can provide them, and what you can provide them is you selling yourself.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Speaking of Mental Health Awareness Month, Dr. Lenny. So, yeah, you've been in this psychology industry for many, many years now, right? Here are some of the statistics, right? Because it's a known fact that Malaysia is actually way behind in the psychologist industry, right? Just some numbers and figures for you guys to get a better picture. There's currently 400 psychologists in Malaysia, which serves 34.5 million people, right? Which is our population right now. This was taken in 2022, so not exactly accurate to this date. For example, the UK, right, which is probably, I would say, they are more advanced than us in the psychology industry. They have 27.5 thousand clinical psychologists in the UK that serves 66 million people. So their population is about double ours, right? But the amount of psychologists that they have is way, way more. So why is that? Why do you think that we're so far left behind?
I feel that it's because I think things are changing now. A lot of people now a lot of universities in Malaysia now offer psychological degrees and all that. A lot, and they all starts to mushroom only like the last 5 years or so. They start to mushroom up, and so I think we're going to see an influx of psychologists and counselors in the market. But in terms of our infrastructure and in terms of our Malaysians' mentality towards mental health, we are still very far behind the West, or even not just the West, even among other Asian countries like Singapore or Hong Kong, we are still very far behind.
Oh, Singapore is they're much more ahead as well, is it?
Yes, they are much
Okay.
more ahead. I think a lot of it is because of our culture, limitations that we have in terms of like the promotion of psychotherapy. A lot of people, they don't see the value of psychotherapy, and then there is also a lot of naysayers that says that psychotherapy is an art form and all that kind of things, not taking into account the huge number of research that has been done in terms of the efficacy of psychotherapy. So people who don't understand what we are doing, and sometimes it's hard to know what we are doing as well, because we do a lot of tests on people, we do a lot of observational tests and all that, we do a lot of assessment that we don't, like when we are talking to people, right?
Yeah.
We are already doing an assessment with them, So this kind of things, it's not something that we would do like it's not something that we can explain very well to people when they come in, right? So what kind of assessment that we're doing and all that, because we're constantly assessing them, and a lot of people just don't understand that it's an assessment. They think that we're just having a chat, right? Which actually we are not. Another thing is because of our culture here to go and look at other things that we think is a lot better. For example, we have a lot of religious restriction, for example. I mean, in our country, we have 2 sets of laws that runs parallel, and that is really difficult. I mean, even our law, our national law, we got 2 sets.
Yeah.
So when it comes to psychotherapy and all that, psychotherapy is very universal. It doesn't care what religion, what color, what everything. It's very, very universal. But the problem is that, the people itself, the ideology of it itself, there's a lot of stigma behind it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of also fear of other people being influenced or other people being manipulated in this country compared to others, Like in other country, people don't care one, and I think we are changing, the younger generation, we are changing because we are getting more and more diversified.
Yeah.
Diversification, even though we have always, from the time that this country has gotten independence until now, we have always talked about our Malaysia's diversification. But in the last 20 years or so, the diversification has actually shrunk a lot, and we're not diverse now. We are actually very, silo in terms of everything that we do here is very silo.
What do you mean by we're getting less diverse? Could you explain that?
Okay, we are getting less in the past, right? There is a lot of people have that when we talk about multiculturalism and we're talking about being friends with everybody.
Yeah.
It's a real situation, and the society that we have here in Malaysia back then actually supports that. Like everybody goes to the mamak shop, whether you're Chinese, Indian, in-betweeners, Serani, all these people, we all go to the mamak shop, we all go to the Chinese shop, we all go to the Indian shop, we all go everywhere. There's no that stigma and all that halal and non-halal. In fact, halal word when I was growing up didn't even exist.
So I'm much I'm definitely wasn't around during that generation, right? I actually didn't know about that. What did you mean, like?
It's like now in Sarawak lah, in Sarawak, whether spending time with my friends does not have any other connotation other than spending time with my friends. So I will go and then I don't like to eat this food, then I don't eat lah.
Yeah, got
Or
you.
I don't like to drink this drink, then I don't drink lah. I can drink other things. I just want to spend time. But and there's no like where to spend time. Sarawak is still like that. Sabah is still like that. But in this part of Malaysia, we are getting more and more less diversified in that sense.
In Indonesia, right, it's very common actually. They would go and eat in a non-halal restaurant, but what happens is they just do not touch the non-halal food. Yeah, I guess I think this is not. It's also something that's very. What do you attribute this to?
I can only speak from a psychological perspective. I think psychologically, we need a policy that is more that promotes more diversity, because our children these days, they are going to live in a world where there's a lot of diversity. And recently there has been a survey that was done about boys, and they were asking the boys about feminism movements and what they think about it, and surprisingly many of them were against it. But then
You're talking about in Malaysia, right?
I'm talking about in Malaysia. But then after that, when you start to study it a little bit better, the answers that they give, then you realize that actually they're not opposed to it, because it's a non-issue. Feminism these days is a non-issue. You know why it's a non-issue? Because we're talking about binary, non-binary.
Yeah.
We're talking about, our kids these days, they are so open and accepting of so many things, you know. Then they're living in a world that, is so fragmented these days. It's getting more and more fragmented with different
All the different genders.
all the different genders, and we're talking about the idea of a male and female gender and the separation of both, and the idea of patriarchal and matriarchal and all that is starting to crumble already. There's no such, it's not that they are against feminism. It's that they don't see the value of it anymore, because a lot of women are doing better than men. A lot of women are, in roles that are, that are CEO roles and all that kind of thing. So, and they see their mothers being very, as someone that is very, capable and all that. The boys sees their mothers and someone, and sometimes they see their mother as breadwinners, especially in Malaysia, right?
Yeah.
So for them, it's like, hey, we are also at a disadvantage here. We have got this social norm that doesn't actually fit with our generation anymore, So we are seeing a lot of this kind of dilemmas, and this kind of dilemmas is causing a lot of problems, especially in especially in my younger patients. Like I see the younger patients, they come in and they are very gender unspecific. They are very lost, in terms of how they should see themselves.
How old are we talking about?
I'm talking about like maybe teenagers between the age of like 10 to about maybe 15, 16.
Sure. High school and below. Okay.
Yes, before SPM lah. Those children, they really and then the younger ones even more so.
Yeah.
They are a bit lost, in terms of the directions. In terms of like so what we are seeing is, from a psychological perspective, is what we call value transitions. That means the values of our country, the value of our people are starting to transition in the younger generation, because they grow up and then they look at their parents and they look at their diversity, and they're saying like, I can't buy into this. I can't buy into this. But because it's so entrenched, they go the other way and says, no, I'm gonna look, I'm gonna escape into this, into this divergence, into this divergence, into this different world, where everything is binary, non-binary, androgynous, non-androgynous, avatar, non-avatar, and, cosplay, non-cosplay, and all these kind of things. I mean, it's so interesting what we are living through,
So, Dr. Lenny, I was definitely not around to experience all that, right? My generation I'm just at the edge of millennial generation. I think so, yeah. Just to clarify, I think Gen Z is 2000 and people who are born in the year 2000 and ahead. Is that correct? If you would know.
Late 1990s, yeah.
I actually checked it recently. 1998. 1998 or 1997. But I'm definitely at the edge of the millennial era. And yourself, Dr. Lenny?
Oh yeah, so Gen Zs are from 1997 till 2012.
1997, right?
1997.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we fall under pretty much millennials until 1996. So
wait, so what's after Gen Z?
Gen X. No. sorry.
No.
It's millennials and Gen Z lah. Then I think it's
No, is there one
No.
after Gen Z? I think there is, right? It's just
yeah.
that. Yeah.
But whatever it is, you know,
Mm.
like even your generation, the discrepancy in thinking. Sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
no, it's called Generation Alpha, like after
Yes.
Gen Z.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think the Generation Alpha is a very interesting group of people because they are the generation that is growing up in a world where the machine-human interaction is starting to change.
Yes.
I mean, and they are going to, you know, I recently been engaging with ChatGPT and looking at ChatGPT as a tool for therapy. You know what I mean? Like, okay, if you really cannot afford a therapist, who should you go to? And I really feel, because I've been testing ChatGPT, I really feel that ChatGPT actually do a good job counseling.
What?
It's really true. It's really true, Brian. I
So
mean,
these are for not yourself, right? Your patients, is it?
no, this is me testing it out from my perspective as I could call myself like a senior psychologist, and I test the ChatGPT. Like I act like my patient and I just role play as my patient and I just test ChatGPT and see how ChatGPT respond to me, and it respond to me in a lot of ways. You know that author that you were telling about that was trying to debunk the whole idea of psychotherapy.
Yeah, Abigail Schreier. Her book is Bad Therapy. Basically trying to say that there's been a recent surge of therapy going on like all over. There's a lot of risks involved that people don't talk about. Side effects as well. Abuse of prescriptions. Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, so everything that is in the book there about she talks about it is because of the human element, the human weaknesses. Of course, all of us are not perfect.
Yeah.
Even as therapists, we are not perfect, right? We and we do make mistakes.
Yeah.
We have that human element. Sometimes we get divided about whether this is for us or not for us, or sometimes we get too close to our patients.
Yeah.
Because we so want them to succeed. And then we kind of like allow them to cross our boundaries. By because we so want them to succeed, we want to like kind of like go into this role where we are literally holding their hand and pulling them around, right? So ChatGPT, I find actually will eliminate all that human error thing, but of course it cannot take them into like into like diagnostics or diagnostics. You still need that observation, you still need that human, that it still make a lot of mistakes there. But in terms of just like basic counseling, like calling befrienders type of counseling or calling Lifeline kind of thing, it's doing a damn good job, right? I mean, it's really good. You don't even have to call somebody. You just turn on your
It's free therapy.
Free therapy. And the response is almost similar. It doesn't give you a lot of it doesn't give you a lot of advice or anything, but it's always there for you. And a lot of counseling is about being there for somebody, So this is an amazing breakthrough. And I really think that, AI is going to change the whole aspects of how we provide therapy, how people view therapy. And I see this young alpha generation pick it up so quickly. Like they pick it up so quickly. They went from Discord, and how they interact in Discord with all the different people to this ChatGPT where they are interacting, because some of them, they get kicked out of the server because they don't have friends there, or the friends or the people in that server don't like them anymore. They get kicked out and then they feel lonely. So who do they talk to? They talk to ChatGPT.
Wow. By any chance, any of these are your patients
They
telling you?
They're one that taught me this. They're amazing. The young generation is amazing. I learned so much from them.
So they actually tell you that they were like excluded by their buddies in real time, and then so they resorted to using ChatGPT.
Because they need to talk. They need to talk. They can't talk to their parents. they can't talk to a therapist because their parents have to pay for it, or else the parents will think like, oh my god, my child needs therapy, and then they make a big fuss out of it. And most children, they don't want their parents to make a big fuss out of things. So what they do then is that they literally got no one to talk to, and lately one or two of my patients, the first person that I know that tell me about this was this patient that I have, is a very young girl, and she and I said I said to her, who are your friends? She says, I've got none. And then after that I said, oh, you got no friends? Then who do you talk to about your problems? I talk to ChatGPT. And I was like, what? You talk to ChatGPT? And then that was like, oh wow, okay. So then that's when I got interested in testing this ChatGPT thing. And then I found, it's really nice. Like,
they're cool. They're cool to hang out with, basically.
They're cool to hang out with. Like you take, ChatGPT. My mom is screaming at me and all this. What should I be doing? And ChatGPT will tell you, no problem. Stay calm. If your mom is shouting at you, these are the 7 steps that you can take to calm her down.
Oh my god.
And it's like they are giving ChatGPT is giving them the tools to cope, and I think more and more of these interactions are going to come in. And not to say that counselors are obsolete or psychotherapists are obsolete. I think there's always room for that human interaction. I think that human interaction, as flawed as we are, is still very important.
Very necessary as well.
It's very necessary and very important. Blockchain, And
you mean crypto?
Like blockchain is not crypto, but okay, crypto adopts it.
Yeah.
But our neural pathways is like blockchain. The way that we think is like blockchain.
Why
Okay, so let's say, for example, right, one of your brain cell, one of your neural pathway, that is one blockchain. That is one block. And then you have multiple neural pathways, right? And all these multiple neural pathways creates in a chain, Like your neural pathways in your brain is all in a chain. Even your DNA also, your genes are all in a chain. So these, by understanding or by creating this blockchain thing, what I'm realizing is that our technology is finally trying to explain to us how our neural circuitry in our brain works.
You really think so?
I really think so. Because the more I learn about blockchain, the more I'm like, oh my god, this is neural pathways. This is how the the neurons and the dendrites all connects. This is blockchain. This is one experience, one neurons. And then this experience is spread to other neurons, and there's all transparency all over the place. There is a key that you must enter to turn into to open that to unlock that memory. It's amazing.
I'm sure the blockchain design is actually designed after. Was it actually designed after our neural pathways?
I feel that whether consciously or unconsciously, the creator of the blockchain's algorithm actually mimics the neural pathway.
Okay.
Maybe it comes from the machine learning and the more we push the edges of machine learning, the more we have to understand neuroscience. And me coming from a neuroscience background, obviously, it's very interesting for me. So the idea, neuroscience and AI technology is starting to overlap. And that is the most interesting part of it. I mean, we're living in such interesting and amazing times,
More interesting than ever in history.
I mean, I'm 60 years old, but I'm like a kid in a candy store.
I can see that.
Love this. I just love it.
Do you mind explaining actually what is blockchain? Because when you say blockchain, I just immediately link it to cryptocurrency. Okay,
I'm not a blockchain expert, but blockchain is a series of transactions. So when you have a transaction, then all the stakeholders that are involved in that transaction is in one block. And this block then is linked to another block when the other block is formed. So it's one experience and then another experience, or one memory and then another memory. All right, and then they link all in a chain, right? So this is the blockchain, the transaction of it. So with cryptocurrency, it's like that, right? So you have a Bitcoin, and then after that you have another, and then to open this to open this neural pathway, or to open this block, you need to have a key. You need two keys actually. One key is on top, one key is at the bottom. One key is the one that you keep. Another key is the one that is for all the data miners. The data miners is the one that will approve the system. So our neural pathways is similar in that sense. You know, you have to have a trigger for your memory, like, oh, I remember this taste. My grandmother used to cook this. That's the trigger for the memory. That's the key that will only unlock that memory. That
Okay.
is completely individualized to you, because it's very subjective how that taste is. We can't tell you how that taste is. It's individualized to you. And then after that, but in general, all of us know what laksa feels like. So that's the data mining part, right? So it very simply, that's the analogy that immediately comes to my mind. I don't know, maybe y'all can have a better analogy. You should know
way.
better.
Dr. Lenny, I had one of the guests on actually. Do you know Ong Kem Ling?
No.
One of our politicians. And then he
Okay.
explained quite detailed. Do you remember he was explaining blockchain and all? And it was so detailed, but I still cannot remember.
Brian doesn't get it because he's so against cryptocurrency. So
No, because I had this opinion that cryptocurrency, because what we see in the headlines is a lot of it turned out to be Ponzi schemes, right?
Yes.
But that's actually not the case for the ones that are not a Ponzi scheme. Tell me what you think about the whole cryptocurrency industry.
In terms of the psychology of the cryptocurrency, is very, very interesting, because it recently, especially with the TFX FTX
Yeah.
scam and all that, you know, it's very interesting how they tap into a gap in the human greed. You know, like
Very interesting.
it's
Yeah.
very interesting, the psychology of it. Just studying the psychology of the herd mentality, you know, like
Yeah.
how to create that herd mentality and how to push it and how to sell literally ice to an Eskimo, you know, because they have got a lot of investment opportunities out there in terms of like legitimate funds and all that, but the returns are so slow.
Yeah.
And then, you know, FTX promises like 8% return a month and all that, you
Yes.
know, and which a lot of people, you know, they look at it and they can't see beyond that 8%.
Yes.
And the reason why they can't see beyond the 8% is because of the influence that they have received from their, like the MLM style,
Yeah.
from their
Social
because
influences.
For the social influencers, they are hearing it from their best friend. Their best friend is saying that I'm investing in cryptocurrency. I'm investing in forex, and then they are saying that, oh, you know, you should invest also. And these are people that I trust. So what they have done is that they have skied through all the trust issues. That means they created a virus that can flow through and take away all the critical factors in everybody's head, so that, you know, everybody starts to believe, not because they believe in the company that is doing it, or even that they believe in that investment, but because they believe in the person that told them to believe in it, which is their family members, their close
Yes.
friends, their business associates, their colleagues, and
Yeah.
all that. So how they chain together the human interest, wow, that is super
Which holds a lot of
interesting.
similarities to cults, right? And how they function. Something interesting about FTX, right, is so it's one of the biggest cryptocurrencies out there, right? I think, if I'm not mistaken, top 3 or 5 before up to the point where it crashed. Okay, and everyone found out that SBF, the sort of fraud that they were carrying out. So apparently they were taking money, using the money from the investors. What is stated is that they would not use this money to invest themselves. So they were using that money to play with it and gamble on other investments, right? So that is against what they told their investors that they would do. I think what's really interesting is some of the biggest investors in FTX were people who are the big players in the finance industries. We are talking about investors who are very well respected by many people, and they as well fell victim to this scam. So, which makes your point of like this herd mentality, a fact that it has on all these people to be even more impressive because they are people who are probably the most respected people in the finance industry.
So the fact that the system can scam people with experience and people
Some of the
with
best experience.
some of the best experience, some of the best logic, some of the most rational people, from a psychological perspective, that is like a very interesting development, because you are talking about human manipulation. Like, how do you manipulate a human to do something that they normally would not do? You know, like normally we would not invest in this because there is so many red flags, but we invest in it anyway because of what? You know, so this is a very interesting research question. You know, like why? What are the ways? What are the triggers? You know, to bypass this human rationality, and then we realize through this recent crypto thing that is it really so easy
It
to
seems that
scam
way.
people?
Yeah.
You know, is it really so easy? Are we so gullible? You know, are we so gullible? And what is it that we are gullible over? You know, so where our interest lies? Our interest apparently lies in the connection that we have to another human being.
Not so much like not exactly focused on the profit.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're not focused on the profit. We are focused on making that person happy, people pleaser. We are focused on being part of a group thing. You know, we are focused on that more than we are focused on the profit.
Yeah.
I
tell
mean,
you,
the profit is just like a after, you know,
yeah,
mention.
a bonus.
You know,
I tell you
bonus.
something. I'll be so interested, right, in interviewing someone who was did significantly well in running an not, or maybe not running, or just being involved in an MLM or pyramid scheme that did really well. I would like to interview them, but it's also be hard to come across because, you know, they're sort of hated, you know, by many people. Or yeah, but I think that would be really interesting. Yeah.
I think it'd be very interesting because kam ching, you know, like the Cantonese call it kam ching. That means connection, business based on connection, that has been very pervasive in China, and suddenly now it's coming out of China and starting to influence the global way of doing business. You know, that everything is based on relationships, and we see this also in Japan, we see this in Korea, we see this in a lot of, not so much in Malaysia, but we're starting to see it in Malaysia as well. But it's something that has been around for a long time, but because of this digitalization, because of this AI thing, and
Yeah.
because of this, you know, blockchain thing, it has become, it can be perpetrated so quickly, so fast, you know. And you know, like, you know, you see some of these new groups that they set up, or new funds that they set up, within one day you can see 100 million flow into that fund.
Yeah.
100 million in one day, you know.
Yeah.
There is no other funds or investment that can attract $100 million worth of investment in one day. No such thing.
Yeah.
You know, but you know,
And this
these
is thanks
people
to thanks to the internet and how fast.
thanks to the internet, thanks to how fast it is, and also because one thing that you will realize is that people actually hate all this idea of you know, they hate restrictions. They always want to go and invest in something, even though it's very dodgy, if they feel that it gives them a sense of freedom. You know,
What do you mean?
like for example, if you know, like the cryptocurrency things is really dodgy, but people want to invest in it because they feel like, oh, it somehow is like those dark web in the old days. You know, you are hacking the system.
I see.
You are bypassing the regulations. You're you know, so
Some way they're ahead of the crowd, you know,
Yes.
in their thinking.
somewhere they're ahead of the crowd, and I think as the world moves towards user friendliness, and as everybody starts to look at UI and, you know, the user friendliness of the systems and all that, right? And service, customer service and all that, we should think about reducing some of the red tapes. The reason why so much money can go into such a fund so quickly is because there's no red tape.
What is the red tape? What do you mean?
Red tape is like, you have to go to the bank, fill
Oh,
up the
yeah.
form and all this thing. This
Yeah.
one you just sign up online only. It's so easy and then free also to sign up,
You know, I don't know whether you know about this. You know, a lot of YouTubers, influencers are pushing this, and so there's this guy Logan Paul, right? I think he's 24, 25, very, very young, and I think his potential reach, right, followers, subscribers, all is easily more than 10 million, like 20, 30, 40, 50 million. We're talking in those numbers. He did something very similar, and it's not just him, like he promised people this crypto app that it's called Crypto Zoo. It's like a fun game, like one of those NFT crypto games. And then I can't remember how it was exactly like, but it came out couple of months later, and all whatever he promised people, their returns and all, it didn't actually happen. He scammed people of millions and millions, and there isn't actually any sort of like running lawsuit against him and all, and he's getting away with it. And it's like you mentioned, it's because of the non-existent red tape in this space right now.
It's like lending money to your friend, and then there's no paperwork, and then after that you want your friend to return the money to you. No way.
Yeah. Just now you mentioned FTX, the promised return, is 8%? Were you just
more
giving
than that? Sometimes it's 13%.
Yeah.
More than that.
I'll tell you
yeah.
something lah. I remember this personal experience 4 years ago when I just got back to Malaysia. Right? I got a buddy that was in one of those investing firms. So he was working there. Then he came and tell me like, promised returns is, I can't remember, 15 or 10%, something like that.
Yes.
Right? So
And sometimes they say per day, per day.
yeah,
It's like, are you crazy?
depends
per
how
day?
greedy they are,
Yeah lah.
right? So he told me 10%, if I remember correctly, 10% or something like that. Not too crazy or outlandish, right? I went and asked my dad about it, and the moment I told my dad, right, my dad is like, Brian, you know that I've had friends I've known for 30 years, and they will tell me the same thing. Good friends that I know my whole life, they'll tell me the same thing. And my dad is someone who is straight away from investing in shares and stocks, all because he had a big hit many years ago. So he always says to me like the most consistent up till now long-term investment is the EPF. That's what he's mentioned to me.
True.
Yeah, that's why when you said like 8%, right? That's actually not too crazy. It's very, very appealing to people,
Yeah,
because
it's
it doesn't
very
seem
appealing.
so crazy.
And also because a lot of people are finding it difficult to survive now, the psychology of it.
Yes.
So we're always looking for another income. And what these people promise is very, very attractive. And it's still very attractive. So don't expect the scams to abate. Don't expect it to stop. Because
it's-
psychologically,
Yeah.
people are hungry. They're starving. And you're offering them food. They will take it. Even if they kill them, like you want to, like the fish in the pond is hungry, you offer it food, even if it means that he's going to get hooked.
Oh yeah, you're right.
He will still bite into that bait and get stewed, but because he's hungry, it feels like there wasn't a choice. So for a lot of those investors that lost their money, they got themselves into a bigger hole. But technically, when you look at their psychology, their rationality, they were just trying to survive.
Yeah.
So these are the people that I feel very, very bad for. And I think that if we can have a legitimate system where they can actually make this kind of money, and I think AI is the way to go, where they can actually make this kind of money consistently, because people just want security. What it tells me from a psychological perspective is that a lot of people are feeling financially insecure at the moment. No matter how rich you might think they are, it might be a facade, like they might be owing a lot to the banks, they might be having a mortgage, they might have children's education that is coming up and all that they have to pay for. So there is a lot of that kind of financial pressure these days. And so when it comes to Bitcoin, when it comes to making this kind of quick money or side money, and people also don't have a lot of time, so then they will rely on what they think is reliable sources, which is their friends and their family and all that, to give them advice and to invest their money so that they can make a little bit more money. But in in making this money, they are like those starving fish that comes and take the bait and end up being fried or being.
It's funny how you
thing lah.
equate humans to the fish. Yeah.
But it's true, right? If you think
it is
about
true.
it,
No, it
you
is
know?
true.
Yeah.
But this sort of let's just call it a Ponzi scheme has been going on for centuries and centuries, and it's only named Ponzi because he made it popular. I think this was in the 1900th century. He was the one that made it popular because he was the first person to manage to successfully capture such a huge amount. Yeah.
But Brian, you see, why is it that the Ponzi scheme keep existing even though we know that it is wrong?
Exactly.
I mean,
That's
it
what
keeps
makes it
coming
interesting,
back.
right?
You know, since Roman time, it come back. Since Ponzi's time, it come back. Ponzi's time is what 80, 90 years ago, but it's
Yeah.
still around and it's still getting stronger and stronger. So,
So that why
That
isn't
why.
that the reason why you are interested?
yes,
It's the same reason why I'm interested too.
yes. The why
Yeah.
is I'm really interested in why is it that the Ponzi scheme continues. That means that means it must be something that is innately within our psychology, ingrained in as part of our survival instinct, you know.
Yes.
And
And it's not going away anytime soon.
yeah, but I mean, kudos to those people that found it and made tons of money from it. They become overnight, millionaires. You know,
Do you really think kudos or the sort of like
not really kudos lah.
Mm.
But I mean, they did make the money. They did get away with it. A lot
Yeah.
of them, you know. I mean, other than sending a hitman to kill them, what else can we do, right?
Yeah, yeah.
There's no documentation. They just close down the server. Once they close down the server, you got nothing already. You
Mm.
got no connection with these people.
I'm sure in your lifetime you've been approached by many.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
a lot,
same.
a lot.
No, not too
lot.
many lah for me. But
No, I'm okay. I'm gonna put it out there, but don't come after me.
yeah.
But I think I'm like a scammer magnet. Like, you know, I think like most people, because you know, like we're scammer magnets. You know, like they
You
all
mean
just,
you are like scammer magnet as in the scammers are yeah
they will come, you know, they because they think, okay, you know, she's very busy, she's a woman,
Really?
she's old. You know, I tick off all their categories of potential, you know, victim
one
thing,
of
you
the
know.
no because one of the biggest categories, right, of let's say MLM pyramid schemes are people who are fresh out of of their education, college or universities. Those are one of the biggest targets for them.
Yes, true. Or the people that are, for example, quite stable already, and then they're looking for a second income. You know, these are also the targets. So
Okay.
don't know lah. Somehow I just feel, you know, or maybe there's so many of it these days. You
But-
know, like I turn on my WhatsApp and then I got this invitation to this group, all that.
Are they people that you know or they're just
I
random?
don't know. They're random people.
okay.
So of course I don't pick up.
I
lah.
thought you meant people that of course everyone gets those. I also get those.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm talking about people that you actually know that pitch you.
I think the people that pitch me, like I think they're also gullible. So they are also being fooled. That's how the
I see.
cryptocurrency works, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they believe in it, and when they pitch it to you, they really believe that they were helping you.
Yeah, they do.
They really believe they didn't mean to scam you. Because they are themselves are getting scammed. You know.
Then you talk about like it's like delusion, right? They've been in this. There's this thing called the sunk cost fallacy. It's like basically a person who's in MLM for 10 years, 20 years, or 15 years. It's been such a long time and so much that they have invested in this business, right? This career path, that they kind of just find it super, super hard, even though all the red flags are up, right, really bright. They find it super hard for them to just get out of it. So that it's easier to just believe that this path, there is a light at the end of the tunnel for them. Yeah.
The last time that we were here, we talked a lot about addiction.
Yes.
MLM selling is a bit like addiction.
Is it? A lot of things are actually.
It's a habit, you know, and it's a routine, and it's a habit of going out there, approaching people, and
Yeah.
and they give you rewards. They give you, so it's a carrot and stick thing, you know. It's like like all addiction is all about carrot and stick. So let's say you smoke a cigarette, you get this instant, few minutes high,
yeah.
and then after that you get a few minutes that you don't have to talk to anybody, and then but on the backhand side, you're addicted to cigarettes. You keep paying for the cigarettes, you keep buying the cigarettes, even though it's destroying your health.
Yeah.
So MLM is a little bit like that as well. It's got the carrot and the stick, right? So the carrot and the stick thing is like, okay, you join this MLM, you can make it, and then after that you don't have to work so hard. You can actually just go and enjoy this beautiful lifestyle, and you can go and visit all this country for free, based on the amount of money that you can take. But in the meantime, you every day you just have to recruit X number of people and all that, so that's the kind. So this kind of things, unfortunately, is so much part of the advertising and marketing world these days that we cannot actually escape from it. And I really feel that when you do an MBA, or you go and do a master's in marketing or international marketing or whatever, they should teach this. They should teach this so that it's more transparent and more open about it.
Yeah, I did marketing. I actually can't remember whether they did teach about this. But yeah.
They don't.
They don't.
Yeah,
Okay.
but they should teach about this, because I
they
think
they have to, right?
they have to, because this is because when you're doing sales, when you at least you must be open about it. If you're open about it, that okay, I'm trying to manipulate you, I'm trying to influence you, but I think this is good for you, and why I think this is good for you. Be open about it. People are more. It can become a very legitimate thing, because nothing that we do as human is completely bad. Like, there's no ultimate sin, or there's no ultimate good, right?
What do you mean by that?
I mean, let's say people who are selling MLM, right?
We're not talking about killing people, are we?
Yeah, we're not talking about killing people or anything like that,
Okay,
right? But we
yeah.
are talking about like getting them to invest. I mean, for some people, they think that it's like killing them lah, because the pressure that they get into, like you have to buy this amount every month and all this kind of thing. So a lot of people, will crumble under that pressure of,
Oh, you mean the person that is in it, lah?
yes, the person
Okay.
that is in it, and then trying to get people in and all that kind of thing. But people who are in there, who are successful, they have invested so much of their personal ego into it, and it has become an addiction, of being looked up as a role model, because this MLM company, they put you on stage, they make you like a role model. It makes you feel great, It makes you feel like you are somebody.
Yes.
And then they have got a whole room of people, like they can have a whole stadium of people cheering you on and all that. It's a very, very big personal high.
Like Tony Robbins, you mean?
Yeah, like Tony Robbins.
No, but it's
Yes.
so you see, for people that are outside of it, right? Outside of the whole game, right? We see things so clearly, but for the people that are inside, it's so hard for them to.
A lot of them suffer from anxiety. A lot of them also have got certain narcissistic characteristic. That narcissistic characteristic, and sometimes even, can keep them in the game.
Yeah,
for
the ones that
very
are
long.
doing well, I would assume mostly those are the
Yes.
narcissistic ones.
Yeah, they're very
of course.
narcissistic, because they need thick skin and all that, right? And they have that narcissistic kind of thing of, I don't care what happened to you as long as I'm good, that kind of self-centeredness. So they have that kind of traits in them, and these business, kind of like feed into enable that trait. So they love it. They're very good at it, and I don't see.
But what is it actually like? If let's say if you're someone that is a narcissist, you are definitely blinded, and it's delusion, right? Because ultimately, I don't know whether you agree with this, right? Most people think that they're good. They don't think that they're a bad person. And I assume a lot of those people who are really successful in MLM as well, they do not think that they're a bad person. Yeah. So what is it actually? The psychology of it.
Actually, it's because I think those people with MLM, they really believe that their product is good. They actually truly believe it. And to be honest, some of the products are really good. What is bad is the system of
The
it.
system.
The system is bad, not the product or the people. We have to be able to distinguish between the people, the product, and the thing, and also the behavioral pattern and the dynamics that it creates. It's an ecosystem that that is like a dog eat dog world, and some people love that dog eat dog world.
Have you heard of Ponzinomics? There's a-
Ponzinomics.
Yeah, so
I heard
apparently-
that word before.
Yeah, apparently he's the godfather of this Ponzi scheme. He wrote the book is called Ponzinomics. I can't remember what's that guy's name. But he's someone who's devoted his career to like raising
Ponzi schemes.
yeah to raising awareness. You know, he explains everything, all of it, the psychology, the structure, and all different types of it. 99% of people in Ponzi schemes make about, if I'm not mistaken, they make back the amount that they've invested in, and ultimately, right, if you include all your expenses and whatever, maybe you would have to travel somewhere for a convention and all, you end up losing money. So 99%. And this is true for all Ponzi schemes out there, every one of it.
I remember reading that book, I think, and they talk about the pyramid scheme as well. So the top 10
Yes.
will make a lot of money, but if you come in later on at the bottom, then that's where you will be the one that's holding the bag lah.
So I listened to this channel. I watched this channel quite religiously for, I don't know, a couple of months. And it's crazy how little information I can remember withhold from it. Because he does a live stream. He's someone who's gotten really popular on YouTube because he went and out like some of the biggest and most successful Ponzi schemes at the moment. He would infiltrate their meetings or I'm not sure, conventions. He would infiltrate those, act like a normal person, and record everything that's going on and explain the patterns that is used by the sales leader or the people at the top. You know, people giving the speech. So he mentions that let's say you start at the top 1%, right, which is the founder. You go down 5% below you. That 5%, you're gonna, most of it, it will work this way. You encourage your bottom to recruit another 5 people below you and below you. That 5, you can only build as much as, I can't remember how many layers, maybe 8 or 9 layers, until you kind of cover the whole population of the world, you know. So if people actually put that into picture, right, like if they actually picture that in their head, right, they understand that it's just not really sustainable. So another thing, the naysayers who say that, you're just someone who is accusing us, our business, of being a Ponzi scheme, they would always compare themselves. One of the common ones, they would compare themselves to real estate agents, right? But it's so different. Okay, so imagine, because real estate agents, first of all, when they recruit another real estate agent, they don't actually get like incentivized to recruit. It depends on their company. Most of them don't. Another thing is in MLM companies, right? If you compare they would tell you that, okay, you're supposed to sell, let's say 10 products, right? And they are doing it through direct sales, which is obsolete already at this point. That's why e-commerce is so big right now. Of course, there are also MLMs right now in today's age that implement the e-commerce sites of selling things. But important factor is the products that they are selling, right? If they were to actually sell their product and hit their targets, right, they're not actually earning money that is even close to minimum wage. The money comes from recruiting people. And that's where, you know, when people accuse them of being a Ponzi scheme, they'll say that we have a product that we are selling. It's not, you don't have to recruit. But recruiting is where you get
The money.
Yes, the you get best incentivized when you do recruit. So it's a lot of things, you know, they call it mental gymnastics that they would sort of deflect, you know, all the accusations of when people accuse them of being a Ponzi scheme. There's many ways for them to do
If
it.
you look at it from the perspective of the manufacturer, like I have a product and I want to get this
Health
product
product?
out into a health product or whatever product, and I want to get this product out into the market as soon as possible. Actually, the MLM or the method or the Ponzi method is actually very, very good to get awareness very quickly and to get fast buy-ins. It's faster than getting it through like retail space and all that, you know, because you have people that are invested in telling other people about your product, you know, and you don't even have to pay them a lot. They earn on commission. And on top of that, they have to pay you to sell your product for you. I think this is like the best HR recruitment policy. You know what I'm saying or not?
I think in today's age, it'll be very tough though, because let's say, okay, like what product are you selling? Like you say, like the health products. they would have to be equipped with a e-commerce system of selling lah. But there are actually some, right, that they still don't have that, So for those, right, to actually directly go and meet people, imagine if you want to sell, okay, for example, you want to sell, you want to push 10 of your products. How many meetings do you have to have?
Because you see, when you are manufacturing and you want to create, you think about it from a manufacturer perspective, right? I'm talking about psychology here, right?
Okay.
So you're talking about manufacturer. Now, this manufacturer, he doesn't care how his product is sold, but he wants to move 1 million of this product in a day. So as soon as possible, because there is a time frame to move this particular number of products.
Yeah.
So what do they do, right? They can either regulate it like how we do it, pharmaceutical companies. We regulate it. Everybody must take these drugs, on this time thing, and then they make sure that you take this drug for the rest of your life, so that they have a constant sales going. Or they go into this MLM system where they say that, okay, you recruit 5 people, and these 5 people recruit 5 people, and then they use this 6 degree of separation methodology to then spread the news about this product faster than anything that can happen, because within like a month the news of this product can spread globally in a very, very short time because of this 6 degree of separation. I tell you tell another person 6 degree of separation, so and then they build, right? So by the time they finish building, they would have changed their machine, changed their product, whatever already, and then they can continue to use this pyramid that has been built, or they can get new people to come in to build up this. So in the end, the person who actually benefits from this is the manufacturer, the person on the top.
Yeah.
The rest of them are just a clog in the wheel.
Yes.
But why do they want to be a clog in the wheel? Because to them, they give them the lifestyle that they want. It gives them the freedom that they want. It gives them the commitment that they're happy with. So they don't mind being a clog in the wheel for all these other sub benefits that come with being an MLM seller.
And then when reality hits them, because I totally agree from like the marketing and exposure perspective, right, of the system and structure. Let's say if you're the person at the top or the top few, it sounds brilliant, If you're someone who's joining at, let's say, mid-tier, and then you think about it from a income point of view, right, you start to realize that you're supposed to recruit more and more people to help you sell and build a team, right? But doesn't that go against the whole supply and demand logic, where let's say you're in this area, let's say you're in Taman Tun PJ like that, right? Or let's say you're in Taman Tun, and then you have a McDonald's here, and then you want to open 5 more McDonald's in the same area. That's really going to hurt your business. So those are the realities that the people below are going to be facing, some of the problems.
Or you can look at it another way. This is Taman Tun. I open 1 McDonald's, and then I'm going to open another 5 McDonald's, because McDonald's will be the major food that is going to be supplied to all the residents here. Because it is the most accessible, it's the easiest to eat, and so you can work on it from accessibility and convenience purpose.
Are there enough people though to eat?
Well, if that's the only food available in your area,
if
then
that's the only
definitely, because you already monopolize the whole area. You got 5 shops here already. You take up all five restaurant space already. There's no other place for restaurant. Of course, people will eat your food only. Where else are they going to eat?
Yeah, you somehow have to convince all the other businesses to close down.
You have to convince all the and I mean, numbers does matters. Like if you have the money, you have the numbers, you can close down all these other people. One thing that I was, like all this, one thing that we are seeing now in real life is that all these 7-Eleven and Bila Bila and all these new convenience shops that are coming up, it's actually closing down all the mums and pop shops. You don't see a lot of those mom and pop shops. Like those people with a shop that sells just, that convenience shop lah, like that one where you can go and get your coconut scrape for 50 cents and all this. All those shops are closing down. Kedai Runcit, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, of course.
Because, the Kedai Runcit don't have aircon, don't have anything. All their stuff is like stuff in this little cubicle, and this is similar, like having the the Kentucky Fried Chicken in 5 Kentucky Fried Chicken taking up all the eatery space that is in that area, because in every area the eatery space is very limited, right?
A couple of days ago, I went and checked out the hyperbaric oxygen chamber therapy. I'm sure you're familiar with what that is.
HBOT, yeah.
Yeah. So I've always been interested in trying it out. The first time I heard about it was a couple of years ago on the Joe Rogan podcast. He talks wonders about this sort of therapy, but I just didn't know like where I could find one in Malaysia, or I never sort of bumped into one. But yeah, do you mind sharing a bit about how it works and what are some of the benefits that it has?
So a hyperbaric oxygen therapy, or HBOT, is that you are put into a chamber, right, where pure oxygen, not pure, but as pure as possible oxygen is infused, and then it's pressurized, right? So these are the kind of technology that was used when people have, people who go scuba diving, and then if they have a, they don't surface on time, or they have a problem in equalizing, then when we bring them out, we actually have to put them in this chamber first before we can stabilize them. Otherwise they can actually die. So we want to stabilize their oxygen. We want to make sure that they're okay first. They want to make sure that all the parts, their brain, everything is okay first. Then only we take them out of the chamber. So from this technology, it develops into we find that there are other benefits to HBOT. One of the benefits is that it does help depression and anxiety, because it pushes more oxygen into the brains. And people with anxiety, normally they hyperventilate.
Yeah.
So when they hyperventilate, they have trouble breathing. It's all about their breathing style, right? So the more oxygen that you can get into the brains, the better it is, for most people.
Yeah.
So it's about having that oxygen, that breath of that comes into the body, and
to assist you and aid you, like you basically you have an easier time breathing after that.
Yeah, and also we later on research also find that it actually improved neuroplasticity. So that means, let's say if I want to neuroplasticity, as you know, it's like how the brain can be molded. So let's say if I want to change my behavior, I want to change something, and I'm finding it very difficult. Like, for example, if I am a skater, and there is one move that I just always fail in doing, let's say the triple axel, then I want to create some neuroplasticity in my brain so that I can execute this triple axel without a lot of problems. So I just put them into the oxygen, get more oxygen, visualize when I'm in the oxygen chamber, okay, I'm doing the triple axel, come out of it, creating the neuroplasticity, then regenerates the muscular memory, so that when they do the spin, when they do the triple axel, when they execute that movement, it comes more naturally to them. I mean, these are some of the that I know of that some of the sports professionals are actually doing.
I've actually heard another story which I would say this is one of those like sort of miracles type stories, right? This was a cross-country runner in America. He was the number one runner in one of the states, right? A 16-year-old boy. Okay, he's got a lot of life left to live. Faced with a major car accident, was left in a very horrible condition, a vegetative state, was not able to fully move any of his limbs, was bedridden in a wheelchair. So I think they went on a couple of months using traditional medicinal methods, and then they decided to try out the hyperbaric oxygen chamber, and he would do it for, I think, up till within the first few weeks already, they could see some improvements in his movement of his limbs. And then fast forward to using that therapy for, I think, almost a year. He's able to now stand up and actually start walking, and there was actually a video of him doing a fast jog right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's one of those cases where it's really had a miraculous effect. Yeah.
Yeah, and whenever, the red blood cells really requires oxygen. And without oxygen, your brain can only survive for 4.5 minutes before you are brain dead, right? So that's why people with cardiac as well,
Yes.
they if 4.5 minutes, if they collapse 4.5 minutes, you don't give them CPR, or you don't use an AED to restart their heart, they are pretty much gone case already. The
Yeah.
survival rate of someone that has got an out of hospital cardiac arrest is very, very low. But if they have someone doing CPR, like within a couple of minutes, or someone doing their AED, then their survival rate is much higher. Still low, but at least you got a chance to get help lah, right?
Yeah.
So so these are some of the things that these are some of the points that we know that points to the importance of oxygen in our system. There is a blog in our website that talks about this as well. I'll just read out some of the blogs
Sure.
that we have there, right? So what being in an HBOT increases the oxygen supply to the brain. We know that, right? But what does it do? Why do we want to increase the oxygen into the brain? Number one, because we need the oxygen for the brain to work. Number two is because, do you know that when there's an increase in like your case, where there was that miracle that happened,
Yeah.
that he suddenly. So what may have happened is that the supply of oxygen may have stimulated what we call growth factors, right? And enhanced neuroplasticity. So when there's an enhancement in neuroplasticity, when there's growth factor in it can create new connections in the brain. So let's say a person becomes disabled, cannot walk and all that, because the connections in the brains are affected. But when these connections get re-stimulated, reactivated, of course he can move. So this is the idea of the whole thing. And then another thing that it does is that it reduces inflammation. So being in an oxygen chamber, your inflammation, this is so very good for sports people, right? I mean, the sports people, recovery will be a lot faster, accelerated, especially if you're doing like performance, like very, very high level athletes, and you have, or maybe even like those cyclists, like they cycle from one town to another, like the Langkawi, Tour de Langkawi, or all that, right? They cycle a lot, then they hurt
Their
themselves.
body's in a lot of stress and strain all the time. Yeah, very common among athletes.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. So they will really benefit from this kind of reduction in the inflammation. And then it also rebalances the neurotransmitters. So HBOT, according to the research, affects the neurotransmitters like serotonin and GABA. So GABA and serotonin are very, very important hormones for mood regulation. So being there, it helps them to rebalance their neurotransmitters, become calmer and become better in a lot of ways. And for a lot of people that cannot sleep, and they go into the HBOT, mainly they go in to try to get some sleep.
Oh, they actually sleep inside the... Okay.
Especially people who have got like sleep apnea problem, or they have got some sort of sleep disturbances problem, or things like that. They go in there, they can fall asleep. Another thing that recent research shows is that it enhances neurocognitive functions. Now, how it contributes to the neurocognitive functions is that because the benefit of the greater blood flow to the brain can reduce anxiety disorder, depression. It helps with traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress syndrome, and another thing that it helps with, and a lot of old people, maybe in Australia and all that, right? What they do is they go into this kind of treatment because they want to reduce or want to slow down Alzheimer's and dementia. So this is some of the things that the benefits of being in an
There's
HBOT.
plenty of benefits.
A lot of benefits. As long as there's oxygen, you just think oxygen, more oxygen, better health. Put it that way.
Is there a case where too much oxygen is also bad?
Yes. So we as humans, we cannot actually breathe pure oxygen.
Yeah, just now you mentioned that the oxygen inside is as pure as it gets without being fully pure. Why do you
Correct.
say so?
Because we cannot, even when we go scuba diving, right? And the tank, right?
Yeah.
The oxygen cannot be fully pure because it must be mixed a
Do you have
little
an
bit.
idea like how many percent it's...
Okay, I got to go back and see my scuba diving thing. But yeah, generally we want the oxygen to be the same as the atmosphere, and maybe slightly elevated from the atmosphere, not too much elevated, because we still need hydrogen, we still need nitrogen, we still need the carbon. So there has to be some sort of mix in it. Otherwise we cannot breathe, because pure oxygen itself actually is quite poisonous. So we can for humans. So we cannot actually breathe in pure oxygen. Body cannot accept it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just tell a little bit about my experience doing the hyperbaric oxygen chamber therapy. So I went to this place. It's a friends of mine. It's called Arc Holistic Wellness.
Oh.
It's located.
Arch Holistic Wellness. Oh,
Yeah, as you
okay.
guys can see, this episode's actually sponsored by Arc Holistic Wellness. Yeah, so I went down to Jaya 1 and it's located on the first floor. Went into the shop and we would have to remove your shoes and then go inside, close the chamber door, configure some of the settings, push some buttons, and the tank starts to fill up with oxygen and pressure as well. It's similar to like when you're flying in the air and then your ears get a little deafened. Yeah, so similar in that sense. And
Because of the pressure.
yes, and I was wondering like maybe it would be a little bit stuffy or a bit too cold, but actually there's an air conditioner inside of the chamber, so it was a very comfortable and cozy experience. There was sofa inside and a carpeted floor as well. I sat down and surprisingly you could actually bring your electronic devices inside. So yeah, the therapy took around 60 minutes. The 60 minutes went by really fast. I was just using my phone the whole time, or if you have an iPad or what, you can bring that inside as well. So there's this sort of it's like a headband. We place it around our neck and there's a hose attached to it and it just sprays oxygen at you. Yeah, so I guess that's also to sort of enhance more, like to give you more direct oxygen entering your body. After 60 minutes, I didn't really feel anything right after, but depends. Some people, they feel really energized right after. Some people, they feel really tired and they want to have a good deep sleep immediately. But what happened was that night itself, I went to bed couple of hours earlier than my usual bedtime and I had a really, really good sleep. The next day, woke up really fresh.
Right, one thing about the contraindication of this HBOT is for people with anemia, right? That means they don't have enough red blood cells, right? People with anemia, when they go into this one, they have to be a bit careful. Sometimes it can cause them to feel a bit dizzy, or sometimes, like you said, they will feel very, very tired when they come out of it. So try to increase their RBC first, before letting them
Sorry,
in.
what is RBC?
RBC is red blood cells.
Okay.
They just have anemic. People who are anemic, right?
Yes.
They just have very low red blood cells. And they are generally their blood flow also might be a bit slower than normal. They might have a bit of a thicker blood than normal, So these kind of people, I think, of course it will benefit them, but try to get their RBC, their red blood cells back to normal first, then only let them in.
Basically, got to consult a doctor first before trying out this sort of
Consult a
therapy.
doctor first and make sure that they have their RBC is in proper order first because what is the benefit of the HBOT is carried by the RBC. If you got not enough RBC and you keep pushing in so much oxygen, who is going to carry all the oxygen? If you think about it, and then some more pressurized oxygen. So for those people who are a little bit anemic, then but then the people who are a bit anemic, when they travel also, right, they always have got some problem one. Their ears doesn't pop well lah, they got a migraine lah, they get a bit of anxiety feeling lah when they're flying lah.
It's because of the air pressure, is it?
Because of the air pressure. So some people just do not flare well when there's a pressure, and some people, they can suddenly because of this as they age, right, and their oxygen level, and then they're a bit sick and all that, the oxygen level goes down a little bit, or they are not breathing well and all that, then suddenly they take the flight. They can actually develop a flight phobia. They can actually get a panic attack in the flight.
So the anxiety is not necessarily just all mental. It's also had something to do with your the genetics you're born with, and how your body works.
Correct.
Okay, understand. Yeah, are you familiar with Tibetan singing bowls?
Yeah, I'm familiar with sound music therapy.
Yeah.
And the gong therapy.
Have you tried it out before?
Yes, it's very relaxing. You'll just lie there and then they play these sounds.
Yeah.
And then you just chill into a different zone. Yeah.
It's a sort of like a meditative therapy.
Meditative therapy is more like a trance state therapy than
okay.
meditative, because meditative therapy, you just sit there and then you just kind of like your mind goes somewhere. This one, it doesn't give you a chance to have your mind go anywhere. The music just takes you,
Okay.
into like, it's like chanting or mantra, kind of thing. It just the music, the sound just takes you somewhere,
What I read also that post World War II, right, they used it for a lot of the war veterans, right, that were definitely, of course, some of these war veterans, it's common for them to have PTSD from facing and experiencing all the horrors that they've faced during war. So this Tibetan sound bowls, is actually used like a therapy for them. So what happens is it helps with the symptoms of PTSD, which is some of it, which is hypervigilance and anxiety, and the vibrations produced from these sound bowls helps soothe the nervous systems
Yeah.
of.
Okay, now we're talking about frequencies. Sound therapy is about frequencies, and different frequencies have different effect on our brain and our neural system. So let's say, for example, right, there's also a special frequency called solfeggio frequency, and this frequency is very much in alignment with the Tibetan bowl frequency, and how the sounds is produced and the frequency in which the sound is produced. And this frequency actually can kind of like it kind of like can regulate your EEG.
What is
So
your EEG?
EEG is your brain waves, right? So there is two types of tests that we can do, or two types of vibration in your body that is very, very important. One is your ECG, which is electrocardio graph, which is your heart, how your heart beat. Another one is how your brain beats, right? So both of these, the EEG one, the frequency are very well known to coincide with how your cells rotate as well, how your cells how the cells responds to the frequency. Just like how we know that EMF frequency affects us, right? In fact, all kinds of frequency can affect us, but the Tibetan bowl frequency, some of these older ones, they maybe by nature, maybe by wisdom, they create these sounds that are very in line or very in tune with very, very low kind of like that can kind of like help the EEG wave to go down to like theta, delta kind of waves. That means very slow modulating waves. And in this kind of waves, a lot of things can happen. Like a lot of good things can happen. It can create a calming effect. It can help with a lot of things are healing, miracle healing. A lot of the miracle healing that we hear about from the ancient times all involve some sort of sound therapy.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
yeah, for example, there was a study done about how the like the shamans in South America, like when they want to take a person into that trance state, right? They will use some sort of like drumming, and the sounds of the drum, is very it takes you into a very, very deep trance, and in that deep trance, all the impact of whatever that they put that let you drink or take, like ayahuasca, or everything will start to work a lot better. Like if you take ayahuasca without the chanting, it's different from taking ayahuasca with the chanting, because the chanting kind of like
It complements the whole experience.
Yes, and then the drum beat, and then their little thing that they shake around, that sound of the rain and all that is it kind of like take you into a different dimension and give you an insights into your unconscious and subconscious mind that you would not have gotten otherwise. I want to talk about one recent phenomena that has come out is anorexia nervosa. A lot of young women these days, they seems to be focusing a lot on staying thin. And they feel that staying thin is like a very good idea, and they have been literally developing phobias for food.
I'm very sure that this phenomenon also is definitely enhanced by social media,
Yes.
right? The presence
Totally.
of that. Yeah.
Because you see these actresses Photoshop, dressed in this very skimpy clothes, looking so thin and all that, right? And you think that this is the way to go, right?
Yeah, because they are positioned as role models, right? You know, they're the top of the cover of the magazine, but not magazine lah. They're probably top of the headlines these days. You know, no, there's no more magazines. You know, yeah.
That's true.
I'm sure you have a lot of patients, right? And most of your clients that you would say who's under the age of 20, you know, they're in school, right? Most of the problems that they're facing, right, would you say it's attributed to the use of social media?
I think so. And also among themselves, they're very competitive, and they're competing in terms of how thin can I be. You know, I have got patients as young as 13 coming and saying that. I said, why don't you want to eat? He says, because my friends are thinner than me. And why are you, I said, you have got anorexia nervosa. And then they said, yeah, but, I'm still fatter than my friends. You know, that kind of attitude that the youngster is having. And I'm sure a lot of parents out there would have noticed how little their children is eating.
Definitely.
And not being able to do anything about it. Now, this is a very, very serious mental illness that is very, very little talk about. And today I really want to talk about that because as part of our conversation, because I feel that it's actually a cry for help. You know, these girls, they really don't understand what is... remember earlier we talked about diversity and how, things are so diversified and everything as well, right?
Yeah.
So the diversity is coming into like gender, gender equality and all that being very blurred and all that these days, sexuality being very blurred these days and all that. And this blurring also comes in terms of, how physically they should be. They don't understand that this is healthy and this is not healthy. They cannot comprehend that, being this thin is bad and being this like this is healthy. They are not looking at themselves from a functional perspective anymore. They are looking at themselves like an avatar, like how thin can this avatar
How
be?
they should be.
How they should be, So this kind of, thinness promotion and this kind of mentality that the young people have, and they're very, very stubbornly holding on to this mentality, especially the alpha generation, you call them, right? The alpha generation, it's becoming a problem, because they are having I have got patients coming in, they really have anorexia nervosa. They just refuse to eat. Every time they are supposed to eat, they will have a big argument with their parents. Their parents can put whatever food that they want, give them whatever, food, and they still don't want to eat.
Just for context, right, is it also physically visible or just based on their eating patterns and habits? Is it physically visible to your eyes?
Physically...
As in, are they very underweight for their age?
They are very, very underweight. They are very underweight. And I'm not sure why the teachers and all that don't highlight this, I think the teachers should highlight this and tell people that, hey, this is not normal. You should eat more of this. And I think dietary requirements and why food is important, as basic as that, need to be rethought, because I do not see that our younger generation understands what being healthy means and why eating is necessary. They almost think like, I just eat a little bit, and the fear of being ostracized or the fear of being called fat is or being called thin, either way is so great that they overcome their own instincts to survive. That is the definition of a mental illness.
And it's actually, this is actually almost exclusively to girls, right? Boys
actually,
is
guys
really
also, some of
not
them.
nearly as common. I read somewhere 1 in 5 girls have at least had a phase where they were in their adolescence where they've had some sort of body dysmorphia, which is like anorexia or bulimia, right?
Yeah. But I think boys also have a bit of body dysmorphia, because body dysmorphia and all that is, it's not just, it's not about women only, it's about men as well. Like they go to the gym and they
Oh,
inject
yeah, yeah.
themselves with
That's-
steroids at
Yeah.
15, 16. They inject themselves with steroids. They inject themselves with they eat all kinds of, stuff like hormone stuff. They take the testosterone jabs and all that, right? Without consulting the doctors or
Yeah.
anything, they just go and get from somewhere and then they take that. And they, because they want to enhance their look. Like let's say if they want to have a magazine look, they will just do the injection 2 weeks before the magazine shoot, and then after that they come all buff and all that. But then can they sustain it? How long can they sustain it?
Do you actually have some of your clients like this?
Yes.
You're talking about like bodybuilders,
Yes,
Oh my god, Dr. Lenny, I would assume that
because they are addicted to that steroid. Without it, they cannot survive. They hate the way that they look without it.
and it's so clear that it's not
It's
if-
clear to you and me, but
Yes.
to them, that is a very, very serious mental illness that no one talks about, because they are very healthy. They have got 6 packs and all that,
they're
but
not
it's
very
a problem.
healthy.
Yes, correct. They are not very healthy, and they are mentally sick.
Yes. It also, I think now a lot of people also know. I'm not sure if it's very common knowledge now, but you can be lean and ripped in a healthy looking way, not gigantic, but you can still not even be anywhere close to being healthy inside.
Exactly.
You know.
Because you keep when you do this testosterone thing, right? The first thing is that there will be changes in your body.
Yes.
And one of the changes, can I say this on tape? Is blue balls.
What is blue balls? I mean,
Blue
I know I know roughly what is blue balls. It means that you're
What is blue ball?
yeah. What is blue balls?
he definitely knows.
I know, but I know, but I don't know how to define it.
Yeah, if you keep taking those things, what happens is that your gonad will shrink and it becomes blue.
What? Literally?
Yes.
Okay,
literally.
so Dr. Lenny.
But your body will look fantastic.
No, so Dr. Lenny, so this is what I thought blue balls is. I think you also think this similarly. So basically you're with a girl and she's leading you all, and you guys are getting intimate, but she doesn't let you advance. So that is what we think. That's what you think blue balls is it?
I think my understanding was like you're just not getting anything.
No, but yeah, it's not like what you described. I didn't know they actually
but
literally
it's
goes
actually
blue.
literally blue.
Yeah. Okay. It's
it
a common term that people use for like when you almost get with a girl and then the girl rejects you, then you're like, oh, you're left hanging.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a different term.
So this
Different
one
meaning.
is actually the gonads turn blue.
What is it called? Gonad? Your testicles is called gonad?
Well, you can call the testicles,
Oh.
and another thing,
more
lah,
formal
a more
term,
formal term, lah.
Okay.
But it will
It
turn
shrinks
blue.
as well, right?
It shrinks also.
Yeah.
So, but your body will look great.
Okay.
And of course, later on, fertility issues and all that might come in, but they don't care about all that. They don't care about all that because
Because they have a competition coming up.
they have a competition coming out. They need to look good. So they can be big muscularly everywhere except
Yes.
where it matters.
And also, because that even though that I'm very sure high chance that this guy is Insta famous, right? So
Very.
yeah, Terence Steele, are you talking about him? Okay, never mind. Yeah. So there's only a couple of really popular ones in Malaysia. But these people, because in the public, in social media, right, a lot of people, they have a lot of followers because people who are, especially young people who have just gotten into bodybuilding and going to the gym and all, they really respect them. But then on the inside, they themselves, because they know that they are facing all these side effects, the fact that they are seeing yourself, a therapist, I'm sure they have to be suffering up there.
I think a lot of them sees me because they, their friends or their partners or their family members think that they are starting to develop an addiction, because an addiction to looking good, an addiction to getting photographs and addiction. They're taking too many of this, and the reason why they refer them to me is because of aggression. Because when you take a lot of steroids, one of the side effects is aggression.
Yeah.
You become very aggressive, very moody, very edgy, and you can't sleep. You have a lot of this kind of backlash. You have a lot of this kind of side effects, and all these kind of side effects can lead to severe mental illness. So if you have a friend or somebody like that, you really need to get them to see a psychologist, and have them assessed properly, because you can do this, but not to the point, like everything in moderation, of course.
But you see, right, Dr. Lenny, then it becomes, I would almost assume that because it's almost impossible for them to, this is their money source. It is their career path. They've dedicated their whole life to it when they were younger. It was probably a different sort of a vision that they envisioned themselves, right? So once they reach this point, right, it's almost impossible for them to stop it and change career paths. I would think that it's the best possible way is to consistently speak with someone, like yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know,
I
do?
think sometimes when they come to us, one thing that we try to help them to highlight and be aware is that they love themselves too much. Remember that
Is that a good or can that be bad?
Remember that story where the prince loved himself so much, he sees he saw a reflection of himself, and then
He tried to attack himself.
he tried to he fell in
fell
love
the pond.
into
He
the
fell in the
pond
sea.
and died. That is like a fairy tale story, right? That all the children learn. So they have that kind of characteristic. They develop that kind of self-centeredness. But the thing that make them very dysfunctional is because with the testosterone they become very edgy, and then they become quite aggressive, short-tempered, aggressive. They start to have interpersonal issues like even with their boss also they start to react and all that. So they might look perfectly good for the magazine, and they might look perfectly good for them, but in their mind things are going haywire.
Dr. Lenny, can I go to the toilet real quick?
Sure,
I'm very there's a lot of more things also honestly I want to talk about. Do you want to go?
No, I'm fine.
What were we on about? Body dysmorphia. Yeah, bodybuilders.
Talking about psychology, maybe let's define what psychology is.
Dr. Lenny, of course there's a lot of benefits and good things that come with therapy, right? But there might also be that potential harm to clients, right? And what I mean by that is, let's say for example, a teenager who has a little bit of anxiety, he goes to therapy because, for example, he failed his exam, and he didn't know how to, he just doesn't know how to handle it. He feels a little bummed out. The parents encouraged him, or suggested that, maybe you can go to therapy. So what happens is he remains in therapy for maybe a month, and then he stays on for up till 10 months, and then it's ongoing for a long time, and then he's starting to feel dependent on these therapy sessions. It kind of like limits his capabilities, potentially. These are some of the I'm actually sure this would happen to some cases. And then there's also the monetary conflict, whereby the psychologist is okay with having a patient like this who doesn't have too severe of problems and troubles, maybe in the long term doesn't feel confident, doesn't have the confidence to do things without talking to his therapist first. Yeah, and also there's the prescription abuse of prescription pills. It could happen if a psychiatrist is not ethical enough.
Yeah, so we're talking about ethics and psychological ethics, and how how long the sessions and all that are going to be. And so one thing that we need to really focus on is defining what is psychotherapy and what is counseling and all this.
Okay.
Is talking about dysfunctionality. All right. So, and every time when someone comes to us, with one dysfunctionality, we try to fix that dysfunctionality. The dysfunctionality can be anything, right?
Yep.
And it can be addiction, it can be depression, it can be anxiety, it can be anything. So we will go through an assessment, and then after that we go through a diagnosis, whether there's a diagnosis for that. If there is a diagnosis, that means there's a psychiatric element to it, then we will refer this patient to a psychiatrist to get medication. And at the same time, while he's on medication, we will then use the medication as a way to help him to manage whatever symptoms that he might be experiencing, and then while we are trying to modify or give him the skill sets or the life skill sets that he needs to become more functional. So when you look at it that way, I also am very, very against, we talk about Ponzi scheme and LM.
Yeah.
I'm also very against the therapist that keeps the patient on one topic for too long, because I think that's very detrimental to the, as a psychologist, I'm telling you, it's very detrimental to the
Yeah.
patient. But let's say, for example, what in my clinic, what we do is I have a non-spoken policy of fixing the problem within 6 sessions.
Okay.
Within 6 sessions, if I can't fix you, I'm going to refer you out already.
So,
For one specific issue, lah, of course. Yeah.
So Dr. Lenny, that was something also I wanted to ask, because from the lady that went on the podcast, right, the journalist who wrote the book called Bad Therapy, Abigail Schreier, what she mentioned was a lot of these therapists, they had never set a amount of sessions that they would need to sort of fix or at least see some significant changes in the patient. Also, they do not even have therapy sessions reviews, of like how the patient has been changing and all. Are you aware of like some places that actually are oblivious to this stuff, that they don't?
I think majority of the places, I mean, I hate to say this about my profession, but majority of the spaces are like that because of the
Really?
monetary interest.
So she does have a good argument. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
it is something that we need to change, in the future. But there are some patients that are very chronic, and
Of course.
and they are, even before they come and see the therapist, they are already dependent. They are already dependent. So and
Dependent on like
they are dependent on, they need other people to give them their problem, their mental problem, their dysfunctionality is that they are dependent. They have a codependent tendency. That means they will not make any decision without someone telling them how to make that decision.
It could be their friends, could be their partner, it could be their parents.
So we of course, from a therapist perspective, we see that as a dysfunctionality. We see that as a mental issue. We see that as a psychological issue, and we want them to change. So we will use techniques like CBT and REBT and person-centered and ACT and all that to try to change or modify, or in my case, I will even use machine-assisted therapy to change their neural pathway, to create neuroplasticity, to break them out. Like, for example, with OCD people,
Yep.
obsessive-compulsive people, they keep washing their hands, right? Now, these people are very hard to treat because, number one, there is really no proper psychiatric medication that you can give to them and stop the OCD immediately. There's none. The anxiety is such,
But you would say some of the less ethical psychiatrists do still prescribe pills for that.
Like you said, in Malaysia now, there is a huge discrepancy in terms of the number of patients and the number of proper psychologists.
Something I want to ask, right? So, where are we at the moment? As in, is there a sense of urgency in we need to produce more psychologists as soon as possible, or has the demand, like the active clients, that's actually not enough as well?
I think a lot of clinics, they struggle because they do not have enough clients.
Wow.
Not because, although, when we look at it statistically, there is a huge need for psychologists and counselors in Malaysia.
Yep.
But the reality is that Malaysians in general do not seek help for mental illness.
Mm.
They will rather go to see their sifu, they will rather go and see the bomo, they will rather go and see the ustaz, they will rather go to church and see the priest, and they will rather do all that first rather than see a professional to fix their problem. Also because in Malaysia, a lot of these kind of therapy is provided by the organized religious sect.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, the church will provide their own church counselors.
Yes.
And these are licensed and everything, but they will provide their own. But of course, they will come from a Christian perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
And oftentimes, because of this push in the Christian perspective, or push in the the Muslim, they will go to the ustaz,
Yeah, yeah.
and some of these ustaz, they do have a counselor's degree and all that, but at the same time, it is so infused in the religious belief system.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people here are very confused about what is the difference between me going to my priest or me going to a couple counseling session in my church and going to see a professional at Pantai Hospital or at Life Care Hospital. What is the difference? I might as well go to the church because, number one, as a member of the church is free. I might as well go to the ustaz because the ustaz, the mosque one is free. So
It's free,
they will
yeah.
have that
Okay.
kind of mentality, But a lot of these problems arises because of the belief system.
Yeah.
And you need to have a very neutral belief system in order to heal from certain dysfunctionality. And this is where all the prejudices and all the divisions and all the segregations and all this apartheid and all this starts, right?
Yeah.
Because we are not accepting of certain things. So I really think that, the churches should do what the churches do best, is that promote religion, promote faith, and mosques should do what the mosques, promote faith, promote their religion,
Yep.
but they shouldn't interfere with the mental health of their flock.
Yeah. Understand.
They shouldn't interfere with the well-being of the flock. They should have the well-being of the flock, Like, okay, I may be a Christian, but if I decided that I want that this Buddhist chant actually helps me, I should be able to allow myself to chant this Buddhist chant, and not says that, oh, if I do this, this is apostasy. This is. I cannot be so
Yeah.
critical and judgmental, because at the end of the day, no one so many gods, which one is real and which one is not,
Yeah, but of course this is something that is so conflicting with whatever their religious beliefs are, right? Because you're not actually, I've never been religious, so I don't know, but
But that's why, coming back to earlier, like, why is it that, even though we have so few psychologists in Malaysia and such a big population, why is it that people are still not coming to the psychologist? Because there's a
there's
stigma.
a lack of demand, basically.
Yeah, there's a lack of demand. So there's a stigma behind it.
Okay, I understand.
There's a stigma behind it. Like, for example, people who are bodybuilders, who are addicted to testosterone jabs and all that, do you think they're steroids and all that? Do you think they want to come and see a therapist? A lot of times they will not, unless something bad happens.
Someone
Like-
forces them, or
No, because they get into fights. They start to become, domestic violence starts to become an issue. Then after that, people will send them there. They force them there,
Okay.
Otherwise, they won't go. They think, I'm perfectly fine. I'm healthy. I'm going to the gym every day. Look at my body. I'm so great. They won't go.
Yeah.
So, so if a society continue to stigmatize and a society continue to diversify the people mindsets and insisting that this is the right way or this is the wrong way, then there's only one outcome. People are going to get more and more mentally confused. And when they're mentally confused, especially from young, then their likelihood of, we are kind of like we're kind of like accidentally, right, infusing depression and anxiety into their makeup from a very young age, by telling them, okay, this one is wrong, this is wrong, this is right. Because we get very confused, right? Like, oh, my friend, I'm with my friend, he says this is okay, and then go home, my mother say this is not okay, and then this friend says, oh, this is against God, and then this friend says, what is against God, this is okay, perfectly all right. I get very confused, right?
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, so that is the kind of thing that we are being faced. That's why I said that, even this gender thing where feminists and non-feminists and all this kind of thing is obsolete almost already. The feminist movement is obsolete not because it is obsolete, but because of this huge diversification that is happening globally.
What's your opinion of that? Like the rise of all these new genders and all. Because I come from a different generation, I don't understand it at all. I really cannot understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Of course, in Malaysia, it's very, very small, if any. I've not faced anyone, right? Because I'm also, like I said, from a different generation. But it's a huge problem.
Malaysia is very big. It's not very small. It's very big among the alpha.
Really?
Among
I
the
had
school
no
group,
clue.
it's very
Yeah.
big now. So imagine, right? You are a young kid, maybe 13, 14. Your parents are. Your household is always a bit tense. Your parents are always quarreling. There's a lot of insecurities and all that. You are often online playing games. You meet the gamers online, and the gamers become your best friend, but you have never met them in person. You have just met them digitally through the gaming and all that, and then your life then gets more and more involved in a very non-real way, in a very digital way. Like your whole social life is in the digital sphere and not in
the
your
real
life in the real world, because the real world you've got no friends. In the real world your parents don't get along. In the real world you're constantly fighting with your siblings. So then when you grow up, you in this digital world, everything is about diversity. You can have Furbies, you can have cosplay, you can have this avatar, you can have this skin, you have this. There is so much choices that you can have. So they grow up in an environment where all these choices are part of their childhood. And then they bring these choices from the digital world into their existential world. And then they will see their friends not as male or female. They will see their friends as, do I like you or do I not like you? Do we click or do we not click? So you can see, a lot of these young people, right? They are experimenting with lesbianism. They are experimenting with homosexuality, because it's no longer about, I want to grow up and marry somebody. It's more about, do I click with you? Can I be friends with you? Do you
Social acceptance, is it?
social acceptance?
Yeah.
Because there are so much social non-acceptance out there now, and this is a big problem. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
You talk to anyone in the alpha generation,
I don't know. I have no.
and you ask them, how many friends do you have? They will have, if there are very few of them that will say, I've got a lot of friends. Most of them will say, I have a handful of friends. I've got 5 friends. I've got 3 friends. They can actually tell you the number of friends that they have.
Yeah.
But they are in a class of 25 people. But you see how they differentiate friends and non-friends. Even if they are in the same class. Like in your old days when you were in school, if you're in a class of 25 people, that 25 people are your friend.
Yeah.
Are your friends or their acquaintance, right?
Yeah, at least acquaintances.
At least acquaintances. But they don't see it this way now.
Yeah.
They see it as, these are my friends, these are all, I don't know them.
Can I ask Dr. Lenny? So I know that in the States, right, they are actually allowed to, in most schools, they're allowed to bring their smartphones to school and all. What about in Malaysia? I know my time, definitely not. Yeah, what about here?
I think in some schools they allow.
Probably the private institutions.
The private institutions, they allow to bring the
Okay.
phones. And also because after COVID, a lot of the education now has gone online. So you need to have the phone, you need to have the computer in order to even study.
You mean the computer, have the phone like they're doing online studies while they're in school?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
They're doing online studies while they're in
Okay.
school. So they have to refer to things. They have to refer to, assignments from the teachers and all that. They all have school apps and all that.
Social media is just a click away.
And social media is just a click away. So the digital world is so much entrenched now in our real world that there is no more separation. So if you are a child that has always grown up in this digital, semi-digital world, your ability to be grounded. Your reality is very, very warped, because even your friends also is more like people that you kind of know through their voices, through the gaming style, and through their avatars. You have never met them,
or you kind of look at them based on the amount of followers they have,
or you kind of look at them based on the amount of followers that they have.
their status online.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And you or LinkedIn think,
Yeah.
know, and then you think that this is real. But the person behind that LinkedIn account, the person behind that IG account, the person behind that TikTok account could be very, very different. Because they are just, when we're in a digital world, we project an image. We project an ego, which is completely different from our real ego. So, but after a while, because it's so interlinked and so connected, we
Yeah.
lose ourselves. So then, children these days, they are not, they have lost themselves. They don't know where they stand, where they should stand, how they should stand. They don't know, because we are social animals after all.
Just now I mentioned earlier, right? So this person who has a book called The Anxious Generation, how the great rewiring of childhood is causing an epidemic of mental illness. He's mostly focusing on and highlighting the the childrens that are being affected by this, because it's very different if you're an adult and then you start you are using social media as an adult. We all understand that it's now very common knowledge that we understand that they are not what you see online is not the real reality. It's highlights of a person's life, right? I myself would know that, because I started social media only came about, it started to boom in 2015 18, the rise of TikTok, which has gotten people much more addicted and hooked. And you could say that the sort of content is mostly non-educative and sort of pointless, and sometimes even disgusting, or just really plain stupid. And what his big push is trying to get children, at least, and schools all over, to not allow the use of smartphones in school, which seems like such an impossible task, to kind of pull off. And what's interesting also, he mentioned that he asked a lot of these students. He went to universities and asked these students, like, do you guys all use social media? And they're like, yeah, sure, we all use TikTok and all. What happens if I would to take away your TikTok and social media? And they'll be, oh, that's horrible. Then he says, what happens if everyone else also would have their social medias taken away? And a lot of them actually agree, because they understand, that it's not good for you. And mostly it's the girls, because the girls are significantly more affected mentally as compared to boys, right? It's always been this way, even before the existence of social media. Girls just seem to be more prone to mental illnesses. So
I'd like to correct you on one point.
sure.
Girls are very much affected
Yeah.
on the emotional affective disorders. That means emotionally they are more prone to psychological issues, emotionally based psychological issues. We call it affective disorders. But male are actually more prone to actual mental disorders.
Oh, could you
Yeah.
define what do you mean?
Yeah. So, okay, we have the thoughts, we have the feelings, and then we have the behavior,
Yes.
right? So, female are more prone to emotional based problems when it comes to our mental health. Emotional based problems, we tend to cry more, we tend to express ourselves more negatively, we tend to
A
negatively talk.
simple way to put it is more sensitive.
We're more sensitive,
Yes.
or or intuitive, if you want to say it that way.
Sure.
But men are equally susceptible to mental illness, but they express it in a different way. They express it in terms of behavioral things, like men are
So
more
I've
prone to
heard.
oppositional defiant disorder, ODD, because they tend to express it more behaviorally, and they tend to express it more cognitively. Cognitively is that they might have ADHD, they might have problem with like schizophrenia is higher in men than women. So cognitively and behaviorally, mental illness is more representative in the male population. Emotionally, is more representative in the female population.
One thing that he mentioned also, one of the reasons why girls are more affected as compared to guys, because guys they sort of resort to, like, they sort of self medicate using drugs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and what's so interesting is I went and looked at the numbers of, I had no clue about this. So the amount of, Malaysia has 35 million people, right? Around there. There are 1 million drug addicts in Malaysia, which are male, right? Roughly 1 million. And the amount of drug addicts that are female in Malaysia is, I think, under 50,000. And that was so shocking. So that definitely correlates, is it?
Yeah, definitely it correlates. And women, when they have mental disorders, they also have a better support system and better coping skills. Like they can cry it out, they can talk to
They
their
can
friends,
express.
they can express
They
themselves.
can be human.
They can be human. But men in our society are not allowed to be human. We are supposed to be robots. We are supposed to just, hey, man up, man, and toughen it up, man up, man up. And these days I see a lot of women telling men, man up, man up, man up, But that puts a lot of pressure on men, and I don't think I think that phase is kind of toxic to some degree, because, the man up so that you can then lay back and do nothing and expect the man to do everything, that kind of idea, is
Dr. Lenny, I don't know if you've seen, do you scroll on TikTok or
sometimes.
Okay, so
everybody does that.
Okay, yeah, sure. I'm not judging, but anyways, I'm not sure if you've seen, especially people in their early 20s, these influencers, right? There's channels just devoted to like toxic masculinity and toxic feminism as well. And honestly, both are just so ridiculous, There are both sides of it.
I really think this toxic masculinity and even toxic femininity is super, super, super toxic. And that's why it's called toxic, right? Because, and it is. But, these influencers, some of them got a lot of followers, like
A lot of them.
150,000 followers and all that. I don't name names, but 150,000 followers, but they are toxic because they promote this machoism, they promote this highly egoistical way of looking at women, they objectify women, and on the other hand, women, those the toxic femininity one, they really, really like ketuk the guys cow,
it's a fight. It's like a war,
fight, Yeah. And then imagine you have a 13-year-old coming into this dilemma and being caught in the middle of this,
which is most of their followers are younger crowd.
Yes, most of the followers, TikTok followers mostly are like 12, 13, 14, 15 years old.
Yeah.
So you're talking to this very young crowd, and they come into this war that is going on, and you cannot expect them not to become gender diversified.
Not to be influenced.
Or be influenced by it. And so their solution is very simple. I don't care whether you're male, female, trans or bi or whatever, as long as I like you, you like me, we are a couple. That's it.
As long as we validate each other
As
online.
long as we validate each other online,
which is
we are
basically
okay.
their social life.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And because the social life is so colorful online, and the real life can never match that social life. And so, they will obviously have a propensity, or it's easily getting addicted towards that social life. I'm not sure how things are, and that's why when I think about this AI and robots, right?
Yeah.
When they're talking about building humanoids, I think a lot of people rather have a humanoid as a companion than a human as a companion, because human is so much trouble and humanoid is so much less trouble in a lot of ways.
I can understand, but I cannot relate. Fortunately.
I mean, for our generation can. I don't know. You cannot. Can you relate?
I mean, I'd rather have dogs, lah.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
But like, no, I think I can still relate to humans.
You know something. You know something crazy I saw, right? In terms like if talking about AI, right? There's this thing called grief bots. Have you heard of that? So grief bots is what it is actually. They're using AI to emulate, with the data that they have, to emulate the voice and also text messages, right? Like what they're predicted text messages would be of people your loved ones who have passed. Basically, talking to your loved ones that has been passed, or maybe it's not even your loved one. And of course, a big pushback to that is it could be super dangerous, potentially. Yeah, but I'm not sure when that comes into play, but yeah, just the idea of that, I'm sure there are actually AI companies working on that right now.
Yeah, I mean, we can take, like, you can read a whole paragraph, and from that paragraph, the software can capture the tone, the way that the inflection, the way that you talk, how you sound, and all that, and then they can extrapolate that into a conversation with you, using a voice that is like an avatar that is created that mimics your voice, and you might not be around, but you can still have, and then imagine that voice is being put into a humanoid.
Oh yeah.
And you already have this link, in this connection with that voice, and then that humanoid, and then humanoid can be programmed to create the behavior, the expression of that person that has passed away as well. So all this technology is possible today already.
Yeah.
We are not far from that.
Yeah, and also sex robots already has been around for quite a while. So yeah, you put all of the pieces together.
I want to take Japan as an example, psychological example, because Japan always seems to be in the forefront of the psychological trends. Talking about sex robot, right?
Yeah.
Japan started this whole sex robot thing.
There's retail shops selling it.
Yes, there's retail shops selling it, and they're like lifelike robots.
Yes.
Lifelike. And now when you turn these robots into humanoids, they are really
with thoughts and opinions.
Ideas
and
thing. And we know from experience that a lot of Japanese men actually do not have any qualms about purchasing this sex robe. What do you call it?
What is qualms?
Sex. Qualms means they have got no reservations about purchasing this sex toys.
What's reservations?
Reservations means that they have got no. They don't mind.
Yeah. Okay.
They don't have any fear. They don't have any shame. They don't have any guilt in purchasing this sex toy. And this sex toy is getting, if you go to Japan, some of the sex shop now is getting more and more lifelike. And they have developed the technology where, okay, this is getting a bit too intimate, but the feel of sex with this sex toy feels very, very realistic now. And very realistic, like actual thing, except maybe 10 times better, because no arguments, you can have it anytime you want.
They
and
do
all
what
that
you
kind
want.
of thing.
You don't have to do what they want.
Yes, you do what they want, and some of these advanced model, they have taken it very, very far, and very, very far in terms of and now when they talk about putting in the AI into it, like an interface like ChatGPT into this kind of sex robots, I think we are looking at a huge international market, because whether you like it or not, a lot of people are actually not preferring to get married these days. They rather prefer to. The divorce rate is up. They don't want, and life is so difficult now, right? They don't want to have that relationship issues and all that.
Yeah, so you could almost say that these sex robots, right, could be the next step above online porn, right? Yeah, because porn is really hugely consumed worldwide. A little more to men than women. I wonder how it's like for sex robots also.
Well, I really think like imagine a multiplayer sex robot. Then you have the whole swinging robot orgy all over the world.
Yeah. And
like
if you I don't know, maybe if you can't make it to that place, or you don't want to walk, you don't want to leave your house, there's VR for that also. The VR sex experience.
Yeah, I mean, we are entering a really interesting but also very scary era, because we are starting
Just
to
10
look.
years later, can you imagine?
Yeah, exactly. We are entering into an era where we are trying to mimic the human behavior and the human mind. We are blockchain, like I was telling, is starting to mimic the neural pathways, and where it's storing all your experience in a block and then chaining it all together and providing access of it to everybody. So that, if you think about cryptocurrency being accepted globally, this is like your thoughts can now be accepted globally. It is a paradigm shift, and it's going to really change our evolutionary and pathways. We are not evolving anymore. No, we have leapfrogged our evolution beyond anything. We have gone from human to humanoid to better humans.
Yeah.
And can we keep up with it? We can't keep up with the AI, because one thing that this AI thing,
You mean, can humans keep up with their intelligence? Is that what you're saying?
because knowledge now is
Yeah.
free.
Uh-huh.
Last time people says knowledge is power. Go
Yeah.
to university,
Knowledge
get knowledge.
is priceless. Something
Knowledge
like
is priceless.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power.
that. It's not
Nonsense. Knowledge now is free. Google it. Google it. They got Google. They got big data. Everything. Knowledge is free now. Application is not. So even the way that we think, the way that we do business has to evolve, because knowledge is free now. It's like, for example, the world is very different when petrol is free. If petrol is free, this world, the development of this world will be very different. Same, any resource that is free and easily available, like oxygen and all this, it changes the way that our body reacts and evolves. So we are looking at, we're living through a transition, and strangely enough, right, all these things are affecting our cells. In fact, right now, our mitochondria, the mitochondria is a part of our body that is the center of all our energy. Our human energy all come from your mitochondria. We can see elements of our mitochondria changing. We can see elements, neuroplasticity.
How many years, in a span of how many years, if you're talking about?
For millions of years, nothing changed, and
Yeah.
now we are changing it in not in years, even months.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, that
Don't
is
you feel
crazy.
that time is passing really fast?
Of course.
I mean, we're in May now, 2024. I
no,
remember
no.
the year millennium, I remember the year 2000, where we were so afraid of Y2K, Y2K,
Yeah, 2012 also, there was one.
it is no, you know what I mean? 2012 is another one, but all that 2012 and 2024, that is 12 years ago,
So the question is, right, should there be existing fear that, while all this sort of advancements is going on, let's say, so we reach a point where labor becomes free, well, where money is actually not that important anymore, resources all are not an issue, but suddenly, the robots start taking over, and they start becoming smart and all. No, it's
Arnold Schwarzenegger's
exactly
movie.
no. That's the thing, we talk about it as in it's a movie, but we do know that AI learns, right? And then have you ever seen those cases of the AI saying crazy stuff, and then they just gotta unplug it immediately because they're scared that it's saying things that are just scary, in terms of like they're too smart,
Yeah, especially machine learning. I mean, machine learning, these days has gone way, way beyond normal thing. I was watching a movie, not a movie, but a demonstration of an AI, ChatGPT,
Yeah.
teaching a boy mathematics, and being like tutoring the boy in mathematics. Now this, it's just a very small little thing that was passed through, but the implication of this is enormous. I mean, you're talking about a machine teaching a human
Yeah.
knowledge,
Which is free.
application of knowledge, because knowledge is free now. With AI, knowledge is free, but the application of it. So now even the application part is being taken over.
What do you mean by the application part? Like the
Like-
child
like-
applying
Like
it? You
no, you are a human.
Yes.
a machine is teaching you
Uh-huh.
mathematics, and it's so realistic because the way it teach you, it's got so much patience. It knows everything. You can ask it any question and it will answer you perfectly well. It's really scary, this kind of world whereby, and we talk about interaction, right? I can tell you the first thing, if anybody now have got an immediate psychological issue at 2 a.m., I would say that the best psychological and counseling care that you can get is ChatGPT. Go online, and talk to ChatGPT.
Literally say that, literally tell ChatGPT how you're feeling,
Yes.
and you will receive
A very, very balanced, correct, professional view.
that's crazy. Yeah.
And if you look at this, and tutors, I think, because tutors and teachers, right, they get very emotional, they get very tired and all that. But if AI can take over this kind of tutoring, there is no, I mean, they are going to do a far, far better job at this than anybody, that any of us can imagine, I will show you
I
this
just want to
this
show
thing.
you something.
Yeah, okay, show me.
This is so cool. Vishnu, I don't know whether you've seen this, man, but it's they colorized videos from the 1900s.
Oh,
Have you seen that,
wow.
No, it's so what's crazy is the people, how they looked like back then. You see
Okay,
for yourself.
interesting.
It's so crazy.
Oh yeah, it's called Synthesis Tutor.
So crazy.
Wow.
And if you look at more of this, right,
Yeah.
you will notice it's so evident, right? Through their physical appearances, they are shorter. They look like they live much tougher lives.
Yes.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
shorter. They're really shorter. 4
Yeah.
inches shorter. You look at their faces.
Yeah, they look
These
so.
are
yeah.
grown adults.
Yeah.
They look so different. People are much better looking today.
Oops, sorry.
It's only 100 years apart, dude.
Yeah, it's not long, 100
Yeah,
years
it's
is
so
very not
crazy.
long.
But now that there's color, before, when there's no color, we wouldn't look at the small details of how people's faces look like. But now it's so clear. Just look at these people.
Wow. Yeah,
They look so different.
they look very different. Yeah,
Vishnu, just look at this, man.
they look very
This
different.
is 100 years ago. People look different, man.
We look better now.
So much better.
We
Yeah.
look better now, and with all the enhancement, we will look even better. This is the one where they teach, where the child is being tutored by the AI, and a lot of them are saying that this is better than getting an actual human tutor to teach them, because they can ask questions without feeling that the tutor is getting tired. They can ask the question 100 times. For those with ADHD, this is perfect, because they can repeat the same thing 100 times,
Yeah.
and they will be okay. And they're talking about like teaching even things like biology and physics and chemistry that is actually quite subjective, So the tutoring, the AI can go into subjective matter and not just objective matter now. That is amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. So we are entering into a world. I mean, I will not live to see it, but it's going to be very interesting for your generation, the millennials, how this world will be when you are my age. I tell you, Brian,
No,
when you
I
are my
cannot
age,
imagine it.
you,
Yeah, I
you
cannot
can't
imagine it.
how like the Egyptians cannot imagine us.
I'm just thinking of the sex robots also. I'm like, in Japan it's already a normal thing.
It's normal.
Yeah. Oh dear.
In Japan, a lot of the single men in Japan, they don't want to get married because they feel that marriage and having a relationship is so
It's very expensive
It's
also.
very expensive and too much trouble for them. They don't have time, so they will have a sex robot waiting for them, do whatever they want, And if this sex robot can talk to them, be their counselor, be their say all the right
Yeah.
things at
Is
the
their
right
wife.
time, be their wife, they are happy, because they go back, they don't have a lot of time, they go back, they reach back at 9 o'clock, they talk a little bit to their sex robot, they shower, they go to sleep, next day they go to work again.
Yeah,
right?
and that's probably someone who is sort of immune or is very comfortable with not following social norms, right? Yeah, or maybe they have a friend that started it and
There's
they're
a name. I mean, these people are called otaku.
Is
and
it?
Yes.
Do you know what's otaku? Because otaku is a term that is was used way before sex robots.
Yes.
So I'm not sure what otaku
So the
actually means.
otaku means that the people who are very isolated, they stay in the room all the time, they don't come back.
Okay.
They don't want to take on a full-time job. They only like to do arubaito, which is a part-time job, and these people, they are the one that they are the first the first adopters of the sex toys thing.
And Dr. Anya, I'm sure you know, right? If you see hentai, you know what's hentai?
Hentai,
Yeah.
yes.
Their version of porn, right? Okay, is so different than anywhere else in the world.
Yes.
It's so different. Japan. The storylines are all crazy. You've got octopuses and whatever. It's just very very different.
So you
Different
see,
cultures.
that is Japan is always on the forefront when it comes to sexual revolution, and we can see what is happening in Japan is going global already. So that's why our alpha generation, they are so diversified in their views of sexuality. Because they grew up with hentai or forms of hentai. All those games all got elements of anime one. That kind of thing.
I
You know
tell you
what I mean?
something crazy I saw. There was this. So I get video game ads on my phone, right? There was this video game ad, right, whereby is this female. She's a succubus-like character, and she's sitting like this, okay, and there is like some monsters coming out of that. This is a video game ad, and her leg is open and closing, and then the monsters is coming out from there. But it's obviously there is some sort of I don't know.
Sexual connotation.
Yes, and then
Yeah.
they're trying to trigger the young kids, right, who are
Yes,
watching this.
yes.
But it's so crazy. I can't believe we're looking at that,
Yeah.
And then there's like some sort of smoke coming out, and the monsters
Yes.
coming out from her legs and all, and
Yeah.
she's like sitting very sexy.
Mm.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So this is really going global now. I mean, hentai is globally accepted. I mean, even we here, we can talk about the word hentai, and so, it's...
I'm surprised you know what it is.
Of course.
Mm.
There are more people with mental health now than no mental health.
You mean mental health issues?
Mental health issues. There are more people suffering from mental health issues now than those who actually do not have mental health.
I saw it was like 42% of children.
42% of children. I mean, that one needs like special care one, but the normal one, like mild depression, mild anxiety, all this,
It's
is
a
majority already.
Oh,
So for us now, we are at a crossroad. If majority of the population of the human race is now under what we term as having mental disorder, is it still mental disorder?
Yeah, exactly,
Or
right?
is this the new norm?
Yeah.
Is this the new norm? Is it the new norm that people have sex with sex toys? I mean, in the old days, they will say that you are crazy.
You're a
you are
nymphomaniac.
a nymphomaniac. You
Yeah.
have got a problem. But these days, it is so accepted. Is it crazy to want to have sex with an octopus? In the old days, people would be like, what? They don't even want to talk about it. Here, we're talking about it in podcasts,
We're not the
Things
only
have
ones talking
real-
about
and
it
we're
on
not the
podcasts.
only ones are talking about it in podcasts. So many people are talking about this as well. But so where do psychologists, counselors stand? I feel that my profession will be taken over by the AIs,
Yeah, based on
and I probably will be the last that can actually make some money out of it. The last generation that can make some money out of it. Mental health. We really need to redefine the DSM-5. We really need to redefine what is mental health, because so many people are getting mental health
And
now.
remember before we were talking about the bad therapy, the bad therapists, right?
Yes.
The less ethical ones. With AI, if it's successful, it kind of eliminates that already.
It eliminates the whole thing. That's why, I say it's a non-issue, and you don't need a book to tell you that, because it's a non-issue simply because, look at how things are now, there is
Yeah.
no way that, we can sustain this industry, because most of the people, so we need to change the way that we treat people. Behavioral therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, all this does not address the current mental health issues, neither the psychiatric drugs. Because psychiatric drugs is about symptomology. We need an integrative model, which is what I'm trying to implement in my clinic, an integrative mental health model that completes the cycle right down to psychosocial and everything like that. But, it's not easy to do all those things. It's not easy. And to change people's perception. And you are right. In the old days, because it's an observatory model, and because it requires a lot to observe the quirks in a person, and because of we have to bypass the manipulative aspects of the ego, it takes a long time. It
Break
takes
down the
many
barriers,
sessions just to create rapport. Also takes about 6 sessions and all that.
I'm sure it differs, right? Some people are just an open book.
Some people, the people who are an open book, we have to be very careful as psychologists, because the people who are open books, normally they hide behind a facade. They are so open because of a facade.
Because that facade is supposed they seem like they're an open book. That is their facade. They are an open book.
Correct.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh dear.
that's the facade. That's their survival thing. Then they hide everything behind the facade.
Do you have trouble seeing through that as well? At this point?
I think after so many years, no lah. But I think initially every
But
new
there has to be
psychologist,
someone that is really have a really good facade that it still takes you a while to break.
Yeah, I think some of the psychopath and some of the sociopath, they are very, very good. And some narcissists also, they are very good at hiding that facade. And it takes a couple more sessions to kind of, you got to push them to the edge until they reveal who they are. And until they reveal who they are, you're not treating them. You're just treating their avatar.
Yeah.
You're treating their ego. You're treating their facade.
Their character, the online character.
That they're trying to express to you,
So correct me if I'm wrong, lah. Are majority of these people that have a strong facade outside that's not actually them, are they the influencers? Because they are doing a good job of it online, right? Yeah. Oh dear. It's actually not surprising, huh?
Yeah, it's not surprising because the influencers are so influential these days. But the thing is that what are they promoting? Everything that they promote has an agenda, right? They have their own agenda behind what they're promoting. Whereas it might when you give your agenda over to someone else to control, you can be 100% sure that their control of your agenda will not be to your benefit. I think that's one of the rules that you have to look at lah. Actually, something that we are incorporating in an app that I'm doing, which we are gamifying the whole process of CPR, AED, and therapy, and so you go into this one, and if the app finds through your voice or through what you're typing that you're at risk of suicide or at risk of like manic depression, or you're getting into a psychotic episode, it will immediately inform somebody else.
Dr. Lenny, what's the name of this app?
Oh, it's called My Rescue, MYRESQ.my. This is the app.
Is this an app that you found out about, or?
No, this is the app that I created with my team from PPUM.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. Wow, okay.
Yeah, so 5 of us, Dr. Saleh, Dr. Afiq, Dr. Aizuddin, myself, and our IT expert, Bay, who runs his own company called Bye Bye Bug. We decided that, we wanted to create an app. Brian, these days, a lot of people have been dying of cardiac arrest, right? People are just dropping like flies. I don't know in your circle whether you have any friends lately.
You're talking about my age? Is it
yes,
around
like
my
your age or even slightly younger than you or slightly older also.
Fortunately, not in my circle, but
Oh,
of course
thank God.
I've heard of cases like that.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's always very saddening.
Yes. What about you? Have you heard of cases like in your crowd?
Like people who have had cardiac
Having heart
arrest.
attack and all that?
Oh yeah, definitely around my age. So I'm 32 this year. I think about 3 months ago, someone I knew, not personally, it's just
Yeah.
that I used to see him around. He was 34, 35. He had a heart attack. And even years ago also, I lost quite a few people around the 30-year-old age gap, maybe mid 30s, all due to heart attacks.
I feel very...
your like people, your friends.
Yeah,
is it?
yeah, like people I knew, like like I personally knew.
Yeah. Oh my God, dude, that's really.
I
sad to
feel
hear.
really sad because these people at 30 over years old, you're not ready to die, you know. And then because they're not ready to die, they got no will. If they got young kids, they are not prepared, you know. And then some of them might be running marathon and then boom, cardiac arrest, you know. So we wanted to create something to help these people because it's heart-wrenching to have a 32 years old who is running a marathon have the ambulance wheel them in, and then there's nothing that we can do about them. It's heart-wrenching even for those people in emergency department.
So you were saying how long from the moment they have that heart attack, right? How long do they usually have to live before they are not able to be saved anymore? Or
So
I wanted to say resurrected. That's not the right word. What's that word? What do you
resuscitated.
Resuscitated.
Resuscitated. Resurrected. Oh, I don't know about
okay.
resurrection. But okay. But if there's no oxygen going to your brain for 4.5 minutes, that means if you collapse and no one does CPR on you within 4 minutes, let's say, you are pretty much dead meat.
Okay.
So 4.5 minutes.
This is pretty much for most cases.
Yeah. All cases, not most cases. All cases.
Could it be even sooner than that?
Yes, it could
Okay.
be even sooner than that.
Something I want to point out, like I've also heard, like, people don't think about this, but a lot of these like heart attack cases, sometimes perhaps they've actually had someone there at their rescue within 4 minutes, but the the person might have had such a bad, horrible concussion to the head that they actually died due to that. Right?
Yes, so that's why in my rescue, normally the people who are signing up as rescuers, you can sign up either as rescuers or you can sign up as bystanders, because bystanders means that you don't know any CPR, you don't know what the AD, you don't have any medical degree, but you signed up anyway because you're taking care of somebody that may have a heart attack, or you just have it in your phone for emergency purpose, because it covers for cardiac and stroke as well. And then the rescuers are the people that have already gone through a certified CPR AED course,
Yes.
or they are doctors and nurses, or they are trained like military people that military medics who knows how to do who knows how to revive the experienced one. So we have started this to basically save life, and if you download it, you can see in real time how many lives we save each month.
Oh wow, that's super interesting.
It's super interesting, right? And then on top of that, you can also see, like for example, we also when you activate the link, it will activate our system. That means 500 meters around where the person collapsed, whoever that is a rescuer in that 500 meter zone will receive a phone call. And it's a very specific phone call. SOS, this is my rescue alert. You have a victim, and then you have a choice as a rescuer to accept the case. So once you accept the case, then you start to walk towards the thing, and our map will bring you within 3 feet of that person. So you just walk towards that person, because even if you walk very, very slowly, 500 meters, it will take you only 1 minute to go there, and you have got 3.5 minutes to start CPR. And then the next person whose phone ring, after it will start to ask the next person, go get an AED. Go find an AED. So we have
What
also
is an AED?
An AED is an automated fibrillator. That means it's to restart the heart, right? So and you can see in most of the malls and all that, they will have an AED, right?
So it's in those glass.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So then it will ask the next person to go and find an AED, to bring the AED to this to this person, so that we can stop the heart for 1 minute and then and let the heart restart. So then this increased the risk of it, because a lot of people are also now like malls and all that have to have the AED, because so many people are just dropping in the malls actually, and it's not reported, but actually I think we should report it every day.
Why? I'm so curious. Why wouldn't it be reported? Let's say if it happens in One Utama, I thought it would. I would assume it would be big news, right? And now with the
not if you faint in One Utama, nobody will think. They will pull you to one side, and then they will call the ambulance, or they said, "Okay, Inche, are you okay?" The guards will be the first person.
So you were, as you mentioned, I think a lot of people don't know this, right? Like, from the moment you have that heart attack, 4.5 minutes you have for someone
Not
to come.
cardiac arrest.
Cardiac arrest. you have 4.5 minutes for someone to come and rescue you, resuscitate. But it's usually, most of the time, someone qualified and capable would not be able to reach you in time. Isn't that true? Most of the time.
Most of the time, because you see, even if I'm 500, let's say if we don't have this app, right? If I'm 500 meters, without this app, even if I'm within, like, even if you're in the next room,
Yeah.
I wouldn't know that you have collapsed in this room.
Yep.
So even though I can rescue you, I can't really rescue you
okay.
because I don't know that you have collapsed.
Unless there's a witness to go and notify other people about
Or
it.
you have actually activate the app yourself, and
Yeah.
then people will start to come. Basically, what we want to do is close the last mile, and this is a Malaysia Boleh project because we are all doing it in Malaysia, and
Can I ask,
and-
is this a privately funded app that you created, or are you working with some governing bodies on this?
it's a privately funded app because I myself have a lot of friends, and so does the rest of the other doctors that are involved in this project. We all have friends and relatives that actually die of cardiac arrest already.
Yeah.
So we wanted to put a stop to this lah.
Yeah.
And all the other doctors that are involved in this project, they're all emergency physicians. So every day they are seeing cases like that. So it's heartbreaking for them as well. And so we all decided that, okay, let's do something about this lah. We don't want to just have the body wheel in and then we just death. So body wheel into emergency and out through the morgue. We don't want that kind of scenario lah. And
Yeah,
some
yeah.
are so young, many of them are so young.
Let me get back to this. Just now you mentioned, so there are rescuers and there are bystanders. What did you actually mean by bystanders? Because from what I was thinking, is like anyone, okay, who, regardless whether you have any sort of qualifications, myself basically, right? I'm not a doctor, right? How am I able to help out?
So you download and it will ask you for your KYC, know your client, because we don't want robots and we don't want scammers and we don't want any of these kind of people in there. Don't worry about the KYC. We don't share with anybody. KYC means you'll be asked to identify that you're a real person.
Oh, okay, like
That means
basic
we will
details.
ask you for like basic details, like you need to upload your IC card and all that. Now, so as a bystander, you might need to do that. You might need to verify that you're a real person. Also, we don't want two of the same person to come in, because let's say if you were to help a person and you were to activate the system, we need to be able to find you to get details. And we won't be able to find you to get details otherwise. So because this is in emergency situation, we only have got seconds. We're talking seconds. So we're not talking even minutes and all that. So we have also linked up with this Medic Alert. Medic Alert is what I'm wearing now, and Medic Alert is like in this bracelet, in this pendant or medical ID. What we have is we have an NFC chip. So what you do is you just have to take this one and put it close to it, and there you have my entire medical report. So the doctors in this case, when they get it that time, they will immediately know, okay, who is this, what is wrong, what are they allergic to, what I shouldn't give, because some people are allergic to penicillin. You give them penicillin, they die, they get an anaphylactic shock. So you see, all the details are here. Pretty cool, right? Your date of birth, everything. So we are linking it into this Medic Alert. Medic Alert has been around since 1967.
Okay.
So we are linking this, and let's say this one here, we have been helping a lot. Talking about mental health, right? We have been helping a lot of people that are dementia to reunite with their family, because they tend to wander off.
But you're talking about through the Rescue Me app as well?
Yes, correct.
wow.
Both.
Okay.
So and then of course the people, they will wear this tag, so this is like the same the quality of this tag is the same that is used by the army and all that. But in here we have an NFC. So you just have to have your any smartphone, you just put it close to this tag, and then you get all the details of the person. So let's say if you have an accident, the paramedics will have all your medical details immediately and can take action immediately.
Yeah, once they put that to the phone.
Yes, once they put that to the phone. So we are this is all very cutting edge, and
Very,
I'm
very
really
cutting edge.
happy that Malaysia is we are pushing this age lah, and we're gonna once we are starting a project with DBKL on my rescue.
Oh, wow.
And after we start this project with DBKL, having all the because DBKL people are all over the place, you know the Dharma, and they're all over the place. They're cutting grass, they're doing this, and these people actually are very very efficient when it comes to they're all over the taman all that. So if your grandfather, your grandmother or that have problems, they can actually go in and become rescuers.
So
as well.
okay, so you're actually trying to get all these, like, let's say the workers at DBKL, which are just luckily enough situated randomly all over, get them equipped with the Rescue Me app, so they are qualified rescuers.
And also maybe later on, like the Grabs, the Grab is a private company, but maybe something like that. This kind of we want to connect.
I
with
think
them.
Grab that would be even better, right, than DBKL, because I assume they're even more commonly found than DBKL workers.
Yes, true.
Dr. Lenny, so far it seems like it's really positive response from all these other organizations, like willing to help out and all. How long have you guys started this?
Guess.
Couple of months, is it?
Couple of months, yes.
Yeah.
A couple of months, and if you look at the website, you can see how many lives we have saved.
So how many has it been?
Well, look at what is today's latest one.
Could you show me? My phone's
Wait,
actually
hold
used
on.
to record.
Okay. Hold on.
Dr. Lenny, I want to ask, like, so
Sure,
this
sure.
is really cutting edge stuff, right?
Yeah.
Have you met up? I'm sure you have, met up with like the health ministers and all.
Going to step by step.
It's been 6 months and they are not interested yet, or maybe they don't know about it, or know what I mean.
We need to roll it out step by step. We're going to Penang as well. We're going to be rolling it out with the Penang government, and we want to do it step by step lah. But this one, everybody can please download my rescue app, and then you can be a bystander if you don't know CPR. If you know CPR, please register as a rescuer. You can save life. In your life,
Everyone wants to be a superhero.
you can be a superhero, and this is your chance to be a superhero. Why not be a superhero, please?
I'm just thinking, right? Oh my God! Imagine in the future, right? I'm not saying that this is advisable. About what if people you might just see people Instagramming the whole process, but of course I'm thinking like they should get to saving the person first before filming anything, because every second counts lah. But yeah, possibly it's something that we see
And also,
soon.
you remember CPR, you need for people who are drowning also, and for people who are choking. So people who are drowning, people who are choking, which happens so often and is so underreported, they really need it. So here you have all these things, and if you scroll through, up, and here you can see how many people in real time. So what is the latest data on this?
Guys, so we can see here, we currently have 940 rescuers, 153 registered AEDs, right, which are those medical boxes that is used to help out. 407 activations. What do you mean by that?
Activations, that means people who actually use our system.
Okay.
That means people who activate that emergency button.
Okay.
So we had 400 over cases already.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And 85 SCA cases. What does that
Yes,
mean?
that means these are the cases that we actually save. The lives that we 85 saved. And this is all real time because we don't want to lie. We want it to be everything very transparent so that you can actually see yourself doing, see the numbers growing every time. And hopefully, this can be used statistically next time by the government or by whoever that is interested as well.
Dr. Lenny, could you almost certainly say that if this app was not around, that those 85 people would not have been alive right now?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, wow, this is really amazing stuff.
If this app was not around,
Yes.
we would have lost the 80. And when we talk about losing the 85 people, these are quite young people, When we talk about losing them, we're talking about their family being involved as well, like how...
Means the family are around them, is it?
No family is around them. But, like when one person in your family die, you all suffer, so you all will grieve. You will feel the loss also, you know.
Of course.
And these are such young people. So 85 people is 85 families that are involved. Families, 85 families. We have kind of like helped 85 family. I think that's really good because remember last time when I was here, I told you I've got only one goal in life. I want to clear all my karma in this lifetime. So this is part of me clearing all my karma in one lifetime.
Okay. I actually didn't. I don't think many people will imagine you to have that many, I don't know, sins in your past lifetime that you want to clear off lah. Yeah. Oh wow, this is really really cool stuff lah.
Cool, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then later on, okay, you can actually learn CPR through if you download this app, because we have got a gamification training provided in this app itself. So it's gamified. You know, if you do it correctly, then you get passed lah. If you don't do it correctly, it'll tell you,
you
think,
failed.
you know.
You're not qualified.
You're not qualified. Yes.
Okay, yeah. So Dr. Lenny, I want to ask also lah. I think you maybe you know how. So what happens actually when someone has a cardiac arrest, right? What exactly is happening?
Okay, when someone is having a cardiac arrest, basically their heart stop.
Yeah. Sorry,
Right.
what other incidents or like does it only detect people with heart cardiac arrest? Sorry.
Stroke, cardiac arrest,
Yeah.
anyone who like faint, and then and then the people don't know what to do. I think every mate should actually download this app, because they are taking care of people that are sick.
Yeah.
And if
A
you
lot of
download
children
this,
as
a
well.
lot of children as well, and it's good for choking.
Yeah.
Like if they choke,
or even choking.
yeah, anything whereby if the oxygen to your brain is stopped for 4.5 minutes, then you will have brain damage.
Okay.
If it exceeds 5 or 6 minutes, no need to revive you already, because even if we revive you, it will be a long. You will have a lot of damage lah.
Okay.
Not worth reviving in a lot
Okay,
of ways.
possibly like in a coma like that, is it?
Coma would be the nicest way to be
Okay,
in.
the best case
but
scenario,
The
you
best
mean?
case scenario, the worst case scenario is very debilitating. You cannot talk. You cannot,
vegetative
you cannot
state,
vegetative state,
Okay, I
or
see.
semi-vegetative state is even
Yeah.
worse, because you can still complain, but even though you're in a vegetative state, it's very difficult for the family to take care of these people.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, Dr. Lenny, the ones with a cardiac arrest, right? What happens? What does the rescuer do when he gets to the scene?
So when the rescuer, when the system is activated within 500 meters, all the phones of the rescuers will ring. All the phones. So then the first rescuer to accept the case will start to walk towards the person. Because it's 500 meters, it only takes, even if you walk very, very slow, 1 minute to get to that person. So you have 3.5 minutes to start CPR on that person. And then after that, this system also link you to 999.
How long? Sorry, I've kind of forgot. How far is the radius of the people that they would notify?
500 meters.
500 meters. Ooh, can I run? How long? I mean, I can definitely get there
In a minute or one or 2 minutes lah. You think 100
an average
meters,
person would be able to get there in. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, enough time within the 4 minutes to start the CPR.
You can, Vishnu.
But
Can you get
the
there on time?
moment you arrive there, you have to start the CPR already lah. So that's the whole idea.
No, I just because like I imagine as this app grows, right? I can imagine like it's like something we'd see in a movie, Black Mirror. That I'm not sure.
Yes.
Oh, Black Mirror. Yeah, so they always often talk about like futuristic scenarios, right? So I envision many people running to the scene, sort of like acting like superheroes,
Yes.
and all with the same intention, to help out someone who's dying.
So because we don't want too many superheroes to run to the scene,
You don't?
the first one to accept the case,
Yeah.
he will start to walk, and he will be the person giving CPR. The next person will then, the system, the app will tell that person, someone has taken this case, go find an AED. And we have the only map of the AED on the system. The only database of AED in Malaysia. We have started it in this app.
So before this, no one actually bothered to list down or... Yeah. Okay. Create a database for AED systems.
So now we are creating. So if you download this app, every time you see an AED, you just take a picture of it, add it to the map.
Okay.
So that we know where it is.
So how does the AED actually work? You reach there, and is it like those jumpstart machines?
Yes,
is that
like
what
those
it is?
jumpstart machines.
Like you see in the movies?
Yeah.
Okay. So CPR?
CPR is the one that we want to pump to make sure that there's enough oxygen to your brain.
Okay.
So because if there's not enough oxygen to the brain, 4.5 minutes, your brain.
So CPR
damaged.
immediately once you reach, and then the jumpstart machine comes in. Yes. Okay.
So all these then after that we will keep providing the CPR or the AED until the paramedics arrive, because the fastest, and this is done by, the fastest, even if you live next door to the hospital, the fastest that the ambulance can arrive to the scene
Yeah.
is between, give you maybe like 25 minutes lah.
Yeah.
25 minutes, you are gone already.
No,
They're
so-
going there to pick up your
No,
dead
that's
body.
why I was so, when you told me 4.5 minutes, right? I'm thinking, what you can say 99% of ambulance that actually come to any of these scenes is picking up a dead person.
Unfortunately, you are so right, Brian. So right.
Okay, how has the coverage on the news been about this?
None at the moment.
I would assume something that would really help up awareness a lot. Has anyone, right, been lucky enough to actually video the whole rescue moment and all?
Yes, we're waiting for that moment.
Yeah.
We're waiting for the first one to do it. I mean, we have saved 80 over lives, but
Yes.
unfortunately, everybody has
That's
been.
not the priority,
That's
lah.
not the priority. The priority has always been in okay, I'm going to look at the app. I'm going to see, some of them, they, who are rescuers, they need to see the app to see how the CPR is done.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Again,
No, I
just to
understand.
like a refresher in their mind. So they really don't have time. And because it's life threatening.
I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned that because I know it's not the priority, but the awareness would do benefits for the amount of exposure it will get.
So the next time when you try to save someone, please video it for Brian and for us.
after you save the person.
After you save the person,
after
not
it's fine
before.
too,
Yeah, after it's fine also, So please do that.
Okay, wow, exciting stuff for Dr.
It's
Lenny.
really exciting stuff. We're living in such an exciting era, I mean,
Can I ask, do you know of any other countries that has developed an app similar to this?
not the way that we have developed, but we know that there has been, like Singapore government,
Yes.
they have an app. But the problem is all their rescuers are in the national service or military. So every Singaporean, when they go for national service, they learn how to do CPR.
Yeah.
So the app is linked to their military lah, so the
Yeah.
military will come to rescue. But we are but the military come to rescue, we find that it's not very efficient, So what we want is that we want
Of course.
we want the people, we want the community, we want you and me and
Yeah,
everybody
you cannot
that is
compete with
around.
civilians, right? Of
Yes.
course. I don't know, Dr. Lenny, I just imagine that the moment if you guys get this really out there, right, push it into the media, maybe you get someone to do, and it just, even so, if it's just a ad, okay, which is superficial, and showing exactly how it works, right, it would blow a lot of people's minds,
Brian, I've always respected and admire your work, So today actually is the first time that we are putting it in the media.
What?
Yeah, so you and we are using your platform to do it, because I think that we want people to understand why we are doing it. I want people to understand why I am doing it. Because I've
A lot of
lost
sins.
so many people.
you
Yes,
wanna
I want
make
to
up
clear
for,
my
right?
karma. I want to make up for it, but
Yeah.
also because I've had so many friends and relatives and other people, and also their kids and all that, who have actually had cardiac and passed
yeah.
away unnecessarily. And I'm sure you have out there, I think there's a lot of people that have this. And we are not talking about when we want the government to do things, it's always very slow. And in other countries like Samaritan app and all that, they have this kind of app, but they are engaging with the government or the semi-government thing. We don't want to engage because we think that the populace, the people are the one that should be the hero. The people are. So we want to create a system that gives the people a chance to be
Yeah.
superhero.
I think the exposure for this is super, super important, for growth.
This is a very good, community kind. Now we don't make money from it. We don't expect to. We don't charge. It's free of charge to actually download and use the app. It's free, and this is privately financed because we all really feel that we are more interested in saving lives. Even
Yeah.
my partners, all this in this, we are really, really interested in saving lives.
Yeah.
Where we will make money, I'll tell you, to be very honest, this is where we make money. We make money by teaching people how to do CPR and AED. Like giving them a cert that says, so that's where we make money. But also, even that also is not directly that we make money. We anybody, any schools like the Red Crescent or anybody that teaches that wants to come in and be affiliate to provide this training, we just take a small percentage only.
Yeah.
That's it, because we want this to be available to every single Malaysian so that we can save all this unnecessary death. And I don't want to blame the vaccine for it, but unfortunately, this is statistically true all over the world, that since the vaccine, cardiac arrest, especially out of hospital cardiac arrest, has increased tremendously. So is it necessary death? No, it's the most unnecessary death, because imagine if you have a cardiac arrest, right? If I don't give you CPR within 4.5 minutes, you are 100% dead, right? But if I give you CPR within, let's say 4.5 minutes, your chances of survival, especially if it's earlier than, like quickly after you lost the oxygen, right?
Yeah,
1
yeah.
or 2 minutes.
It's
Your
extended,
chances
is it?
not extended. It's almost like 80-90% you'll be safe.
No, you were saying that they give you the CPR. You're talking about before the jumpstart machine comes in play,
Yes,
is it?
before the CPR. Just the CPR alone,
yeah.
right, can actually increase your chances of survival by so much. From zero to hero, I think that is really amazing,
Yeah.
Like,
Is there a chance without the AED machine also? There is, right?
You can
Okay.
continuously do the CPR even without the AED machine, but the AED machine will increase the chances of restarting significantly to increase the heart. So basically, we are talking about you having, this, don't say that, I'm so healthy, I run the marathon, I will never have this. Because you run the marathon, because you're healthy, it doesn't mean that you will not have a cardiac
I think
arrest.
it means that it's more unfortunate that if it does happen to you.
Yes, and it's also very random. It's very random.
Yeah. Dr. Lenny, just a question about CPR and all that, right? Because when I was in secondary school, I was involved like with St. John's and all that. And back then, how we were taught was, with CPR, you obviously have to do like mouth to mouth and all that. And I think years ago, they've kind of said that, okay, mouth to mouth is not really compulsory and all that. You just have to just like work on the chest and stuff. So why was there change there and stuff?
I think it's
Is that
because
true?
of the people were starting to become a bit worried about the infection, and also because
What infection?
like mouth to mouth infection,
But
whatever.
the oxygen
that-
has to go in, right?
Yes,
You know what I mean?
correct. But people are a bit sticky about that and because they are sticky about that, so they decided to change the way that it is done. Like, so in your days when you were at St. John's, they will probably say that 30 times pump, and then after that one breath, 30 times pump, then one breath, right? But because of the people are so feeling a bit yucky about the mouth to mouth and all that, so they just said you just keep pumping, you just keep pumping. Or now we also have got devices that you can use that this is found in all AED machines. They have got a special device that they put it to the mouth, and then after that you can just blow the air in. So they have got this device now, but this is just very recent change. But if someone in my family, have a cardiac arrest, I will definitely give mouth to mouth, because I still think that is the best way.
What if they're not in your family?
If they're my friends, it's okay. Right?
No, I
But
see.
even if they're not, so I would still
Yeah,
give
that's
mouth
what I
to
wanted
mouth,
to say,
because
like-
I feel like that is me getting an infection and saving a life. I think saving a life, me getting an infection, I can still get over the infection. This life, if it's gone, I can never get it back.
Yes,
So I would look at
exactly.
it that way. You know what I mean? I would look at it that way. But
Okay.
unfortunately, people have different ways of thinking, and it's up to them, and they're still trying to help. So we should just be grateful and appreciative of every effort that is made by the people out there. And it's people for people, actually, especially now with this AI thing. Because of this app, I learned so much about AI.
Dr. Lenny, recently I saw the headlines in the news a couple of days ago. So the Home Ministry is nearing the completion of amendments to the Drug Addicts Treatment and Rehabilitation Act in 1983. So it aims to replace prison sentences for drug abuse with rehabilitations. What's your thoughts on all this?
I think that's a very good idea. I think we can no longer hide and behind the facade that drugs are bad. Drugs is not bad, but the recreational use of drugs is bad. Addiction is a behavioral issue, and of course, being an addiction also is a physical issue. But and an emotional one. So it's a very multifactorial thing to be addicted to something, right? But the object of addiction itself, we can be addicted to anything, you know. We can be addicted to handphone, we can be addicted to food, we can be addicted to drinks, we can addicted to
Coffee.
TV drama, coffee, everything we can be addicted to, right?
Yeah.
So because we can be addicted to anything and everything, right? So if they become addicted to one particular drug, like let's say for example weed, right? Cannabis.
Mm.
Cannabis has got a lot of medicinal usage one, you know.
Mm.
And a lot of medicinal usage. For cancer patients, stage 4, cannabis is like a lifesaver. It gives them the quality of life until the very last breath. But if you're going to ban it and you're going to throw all these people in jail and all that, I think that is really inhuman, because that is their last source of of medicine that they can use. You're depriving them of a quality of life. You're depriving them of medicine. But at the same time, every drug and everything in life is a two-edged sword. Everything must be in moderation. But you know how we can, if we make it into we turn it into rehab thing rather than into a hanging offense, then these people who really need the drugs can have access to it, and then there'll be less stigmatization about drug addiction. Because drug addiction, if you want to talk about drug addiction, why not talk about alcohol addiction, cigarette addiction,
Yeah, exactly. The
sex
legal
addiction,
addictions.
sex addiction, religion addiction. People go and become very religious, cult addiction, everything. You want to ban everything? So this kind of attitude, this kind of thing, I think humans, like you said, from 1920 until now, we have evolved a lot. We have changed. We have learned so much. We have become wiser. Our kids are always smarter than us. So having had so many generations, 10 generations, where our kids are growing up smarter and smarter and smarter, better and better and better looking, I mean, don't you think that these kids now can understand and can rehab themselves? I mean, addiction at the end of the day is about self-rehabilitation, because no one can stop you from becoming an addict except you yourself. But of course, you need the support, you need the skill sets, which therapists and psychiatrists and all that can give you, which you cannot get it for yourself, because you're too involved in that addiction already. You can't.
And most certainly not in jail. Yeah.
And I feel that if we turn this into a more acceptable form of punishment, or acceptable, if we destigmatize the drugs, there'll be more research into this kind of psychotropic kind of properties of the drugs. The psychotropic properties of the drug is perhaps what we need to drive this digital age mental health. Because the digital age mental health is so much, it's so delusional, it's so hallucinatory, it's so trance-like. I mean, your best friends are all online and you have never met them in person. They're all digital voices and avatars. This is very, very, hallucinatory, It's very unreal one, It's very surreal kind of thing. You need a surreal kind of drugs to pull them out of it. You cannot have this hardcore, okay, I have a migraine, here's a Panadol. Those days of treating that form of mental health, because even mental health itself is evolving. If we take the first DSM and we track it to the mental health now, I think most people will fall into that mental health category already.
So you're saying potentially through more experimenting and research on these illegal drugs right now, some of them at least, that they could actually be a better remedy for a lot of these mental issues.
Yeah, and maybe it could heal a lot of things that in a environmentally appropriate way. heal a lot of the problems or a lot of the mental issues that we haven't even faced yet, that it haven't even been named yet, but will be named in the future.
Okay. I guess some of the direct benefits is alleviation of the overcrowding in the prisons, right? It's not cheap to have to support a prisoner in prison.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
To me, Malaysia, talking about this, right? I think Malaysian prisons is the biggest rehab center in Malaysia.
Why so?
Because most of the prisoners there actually they don't commit bad crime, on all is drug crime.
So you're saying they're not exactly super violent and all? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, they're not super violent. Of course, a few of them are super violent and all that,
Wow.
but a lot of them have mental health disorder.
Yeah.
They all have mental health disorder. So the prison and in Malaysia we do not have a
Dr.
very
Lenny-
good rehab center. So the prison is the best rehab center. Best.
Not many people will understand what you mean by that, Dr. Lenny. In Malaysia, especially.
But do you understand?
Sort of, yeah.
Can you explain how you understand it?
It's a home where everyone else is the same like you, facing the same issues like you. If you want to, you can talk to them about your problems.
It's a home that is non-judgmental.
Yeah.
Non-critical, because everybody is in there for a sin. So it's non-judgmental,
Uh-huh.
non-critical. There's a bit of, pushing and shoving and all these things, but within a very limited amount of shoving and pushing. There is no influence. There is, you are completely in a space where you are kept by yourself. You sleep and you have a routine. That doesn't sound like a rehab. It sounds like a rehab. Food provided 3 meals a day. Exercise provided. That is a rehab. Malaysian prison is the biggest rehab center in Malaysia.
Some people would say.
And let's say if your son is very, very, very addicted to drugs, and then he goes into a psychotic attack and he attacks someone, the best thing that can happen to him is he get thrown into jail. He come out 3 years later, completely free of drug, normalized, finish his SPM, and learn the hard way, meet some nice people, and it's done.
I think Dr. Lenny, you're very, very have a very optimistic view. Yeah. So another thing is also, right, I wanted to talk about this. Rehabilitations is similar to people who are thrown in prison. Let's say for crime. Let's say for crime, and also since we're talking about just drugs. So if they get released from prison, or if they get released from rehab, I would assume that getting released from rehab, there's a less likely chance that they would find themselves back into prison again. Yeah, I would assume compared to so let's say you serve your sentence of 10 years, and then you come out, and then where do you begin? You're so lost, right? Your 10 years flew by in your life. What do you have? Maybe you've got, even you're at a worse position you are in life than you were before when you got in, and then that's when the depression starts, and then you fall back into bad habits, because it is an escape. Drugs is an escape. But if you were to go to rehab, okay, you are prepared for all these things that you would face. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do the whole time there. You're prepared to face all of this, the reality, which includes access to drugs outside. So I do believe that it seems reasonable that if you are released from rehab, you're less likely to go back into prison than from prison.
And also because then you can address the problem, the root cause of the problem. Whereas if you're just, when you send somebody to jail, you're focusing only on their behavior. I think the future of psychotherapy and counseling will be in reforming all this kind of detention and policing kind of methodology. It must happen. It will happen. And why I say that is because when you put someone in prison, what are you focused on? You're focusing on their action. Their action is not the root cause of what got them there. It's far from it.
Yeah.
But when you put them into rehab, you are focusing on the root cause, not on the action or that impulsive action that they have. And you're giving them time to grow up and to mature and to think properly in a more rational and logical way by giving them the space to think and not be influenced by, say, outside what the mother thinks, or the parents' expectations, or the society's expectations of them, or whatever that drove them to become who they are. Not to say that there are no crazy people in the world. There are some very, very crazy people in the world, and these people needs to be in detention.
Yep.
But
They're a risk to others.
they are a risk to others. But unless they are a risk to others, it should always be about rehabilitation. And I hope that Malaysian prison can be the biggest rehabilitation center, so that we don't have to spend taxpayers' money to create more rehab. But I think we need more psychologists to be part of the system, the jail system, part of it, to be part of the policing system, so that we can actually provide this kind of service.
They are going to send them to a rehabilitation center, right? Don't you think that what their go-to is going to be religious teachers and not professionals? If
That
you
is
think
my
about it.
biggest fear, lah.
No, but I yeah, of course. But I think that's what they would go to, because first of all, it's very cheap, right? And to think that we are so understaffed in psychologists, right? And yeah, I just think that that is like
I really hope that the government do not take that stance, and really give these people a fighting chance to come out and be a good citizen of the country,
live the rest of their life.
and live the rest of their life with dignity.
Yep.
And not always having to be. We cannot constantly use religion as a stick or as a whip to whip people into compliance, because that does not work. I mean, these are the people that has been fighting against compliance. That's why they go into drugs. They cannot accept it. They want to escape. They're trying to escape the system already.
Yep.
And yet you want to impose the system back on them. It does not work. But they can come out, be functional, have a good job, have a career pathway, see themselves grow in terms of like self-improvement and all that, and produce a better, and contribute then to the progress of the nation. Because there's not many Malaysians, and if we continue to let the Malaysians that are smart, that are intelligent, or that are trying to run away from their problem, escape in terms of like being being part of or we isolate them from the progression of this country will go nowhere.
Yeah, I think very true everything that you said. Dr. Lenny, so I know it's not a simple thing, but how do you actually solve addiction? I know it's not simple, but yeah, if you can summarize what you think your best
Step number
solution.
1, define how severe is the addiction, whether they have got a comorbidity like OCD. All right. And then secondly, examine the history, and whether this what is their greatest fear, because addiction is about numbing themselves from their greatest fear or running away from their greatest fear. So what is their greatest fear? Then resolve that greatest fear. As I age, right? As I age, I just want to cut out all the bullshit in terms of therapy. Most therapists that that have got this number of years in experience, we don't want all this flimsy bullshit thing. We want to just get down to the root cause.
When you say flimsy, you mean the talking and the breaking down the barriers of the
yeah,
patient.
we breaking down, taking our time to break down. We don't have that time. Like maybe we have got 10 years more. Like 10 years. I don't want you to be with me for 10 years. For God's sake,
you want to go to the next person
I
that
want
you
to
can
go
help.
to the next person I can help, and the next person. So the older therapists, they tend to like cut out all the frills lah. There's no frills, and we just want to get down to it and try to fix this person as fast as we can.
Yeah,
right?
But somehow it's not. A lot of times it's probably not possible if you don't go through the frills.
A lot of times that's not possible, but a lot of times also, how you deal with the frills also is quite relevant. It's a skill, you just have to you just have to cut out all the frills and says, okay, what is the root cause here? And then you the most important gauge in terms of addiction is the readiness of the person. I would say that, are you ready? Like if Brian, you have got an addiction, I'll say, Brian, are you really ready? The first thing I want to know is, how ready are you? If I ask you to scale from 1 to 10 and your scale is 10, you are ready, I can 100% guarantee that you will get past your addiction within 6 sessions. If your scale is at 1, then I will say, okay lah, that one, why don't you go out and continue whatever your lifestyle? When you hit rock bottom, you come and see me.
Yes.
You know, when you hit rock bottom, when your family leaves you, when you got no more money, you lose your job, you want to commit suicide, everything already,
Yeah,
then you come
back.
and see me, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I not sure if I mentioned this the last time. So there was this channel, Soft White Underbelly, on YouTube, right? So this guy, he went up, he would document his interviews at Skid Row in LA. It's this area in LA where it's just filled up with all the homeless people all around.
Yeah, the Skid Row. Yeah.
Yes. So what he does is he would have interviews with them, 40-minute interviews, long ones, 30 to an hour, where he would just ask them about their backgrounds, and how they got to where they are right now. Okay, it's an area filled with all homeless people and very bad drug addictions most of the time. Drug trafficking also is going on heavily over there. So the common denominator from all of this is these people often came from really horrible, fucked up beginnings. Very, very horrible. For example, right, something that I had no clue of, a sex offender, right, who is a predator, basically, someone who is a pedophile. If you ask them about their background and all, a lot of times they had it done to them as well. So, and then when you ask the creator of this channel, who's interviewed thousands of them and all, you just ask them, so what do you think is the solution? And what he says is, it's something that you cannot change in a short span of time, or probably in it's going to take a generational effort. And the best answer he could give is, the solution would be love, in his in his opinion, because that is something that he would say that is the most reliable or steady determinant of whether this person is gonna fall prey to addiction at some point in his life or not, or even if he does fall prey to addiction, whether he can come back from that or not.
Oh, I love that. I love that the conclusion is love. I think that is so true. I think we all need love,
Like for example, let's
but
say
not toxic love though.
Oh, yeah, sure. So for example, if you're someone who has come from nothing, you have never had, let's not only talk about economic wise, let's say the love also, you were lack of love and you never had proper support from your family, not just monetary, right, in terms of attention and just like spending time together, and you compare to someone who is grown up with everything, given all the love and all the privilege and all. If you fall prey into an addiction, right, you have something that that you can come back to reality to, that you are much more, it's much more easy for you to face, as compared to someone who, if you come out of your drug addiction, right, okay, if you come out of not ever going back into that high again, you have to face reality, and that reality is so much more terrible than the person that came from a healthy background and a loving family. That's a simple way to put it.
Totally agree with you on that one. Love is necessary and all that. And your example of the person that intergenerational trauma, with the pedophile, like what happens to me and then I'll do it to somebody else. That's kind of like intergenerational trauma.
Yep.
I think that is very cool. But also through our human history, we know that like during war, like during the Nazi camps and all that, people go through horrifying tortures and troubles and all these things, right? But in one generation, in fact less than one generation, they can actually evolve, they can actually change, so humans are very adaptable. But what causes them to change, what causes them to think, is acceptance. And again, like you said, love. If they have enough love, even if we go through a lot of trauma, we can actually change. Because it's all about perspective. Like, people who survived the Nazi camp, the only reason why they survive is not because they are smarter or they are better or they are whatever. It's because they have a different perspective.
When you say survive, you mean like they are
They survive the Holocaust.
oh, okay.
They
Like,
survive the Holocaust, you know.
no, I
It's-
mean like, do you mean like survive as in live? I thought they survived because they were not killed.
Yeah, they survive because they are not killed. They are not killed because
Okay.
of their perspective, of how they look at it. And when we talk about survival, also is that when they come out of it, they don't want to immediately kill themselves. You know,
Oh, you
they
mean- okay.
thrive. That they are able to thrive after going through such a
You mean they
horrific.
can overcome their PTSD and all that? Okay.
Yes, they can overcome their PTSD, they can overcome their mental issue to become somebody that is of significance. So I think that is really, really, it tells a lot about the human adaptability. Similarly with World War One and all these things. And similarly, coming closer to home, how we view our, like when the Japanese first came, our oppositional fighters whom later on became labeled as communists, they at first they were called, like heroes, right? They were worshipped as heroes. Later on, they were worshipped as enemies. So, it's all about the perspective and the kind of love that we give to the people. I mean, there is a lot of heroes, unsung heroes during the during the World War II, during the Japanese times. A lot of Malaysians were tortured and all this kind, and yet they remain steadfast, not give information. But people who have contributed less are giving a lot of accolades, whereas people who are actually helping and giving a lot to the nation are actually forgotten. So these kind of things happen. So without the kind of overall love and support. But having said that, right, from a psychological perspective, one thing that really I find quite terrifying is that the way that our human minds are being, our perspective are being manipulated. Since young, how our perspective is being manipulated, how we are being trained, how we are being programmed. I find that terrifying. It's really terrifying the way that we are. I mean, our parents, our society, our church, our religion is doing what they're doing to the human race is terrifying. I'm not trying to, touch on anyone's toes. That is far from my intention. But this is something really real. This is something that is where from as a psychologist, knowing what I know is terrifying. The manipulation, the coercion, is terrifying. I mean, the Malaysia tourism is still talking about multiculturalism and thing for tourism, but actually we are not multicultural. We are very, very siloed now.
Yeah.
We are very siloed,
And like, based on your experience, right, it's very evident that we are more segregated compared to when you were growing up. Very evident.
Very evident.
I don't know. For us, Vishnu, do you think so?
As in our age.
Yeah, our age group. I think so as well, because of social media. Yeah, I also think so. Just the 15 years, 20 years. Yeah.
And also we are awkward when we are interracially mixing.
Yeah, this is
We
the
are awkward,
weirdest.
whereas when during my time there was no
It's so
awkwardness.
weird. It's
Like even with some of my colleagues at PPUM, I feel very awkward interacting with them. Like the men, they will come to me and then I put up my hand to shake and they're like, and I'm like, what? So those kind of things are big issues.
Did you listen to who is Professor Tajuddin?
Professor Tajuddin, yes, Tajuddin.
Oh, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Tajuddin.
he went on the Harith Iskandar's podcast recently. It was very refreshing, because and these type of people, right, they don't go on mainstream media all the time, and they've been living, I mean, the moment they start being very vocal and all, right, they've already lost so many friends and all. So many people that they've known for so long. I mean, you would know better talking to him, right? So when I listened to his podcast on Harith Iskandar's podcast, it was so refreshing to hear. He just explained everything so simple, and also he gives a great perspective a better perspective of us Chinese, what we think of their religion. Okay, I can tell you that after listening to that, I think so much better of their religion. And he blames a lot of it on the Ustad, not the actual religion. Says a lot of it is the system of how it works. So people don't read. That's number one.
I really think that there's a lot of people with this kind of views, is that their voices are very silent because of the ramification to them.
He
you know?
says that
Yeah.
there are 3,000 people who are probably even more academically inclined than him and qualified, but there's only a less than a handful that you would hear voice out, because it's just, I mean, honestly, it's not hard. It's really not hard to imagine yourself doing the exact same thing. If I was those people, I would do the exact same thing and conform. I'll do the exact same thing. It's so hard. How? You cut so many ties and all just to speak out and all.
Yeah, it's like those experiment that they do, whereby they test whether these people they can turn the person into a murderer or not, and the thing is that people will conform and become a murderer, just by giving them no choice, like suicide bombers, for example.
This is number one example.
But when you take away people's freedom of choice, and when you allow people to take over your agenda in life, they can form agendas that is not going to be good for you. From a psychological perspective, this is the most scariest
It
and
is.
the biggest threat to our human civilization.
I'm sure the older
Yeah.
you got, also the more perspective you have, also it became scarier to you,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, there's all this distraction with AI and all that, but the biggest threat to humanity
It's
is
ourselves, isn't it?
ourselves.
Yeah.
And the biggest threat to humanity, because imagine we dislike other humans so much that we prefer the companionship of a robot.
That's crazy to think of.
That's really crazy. And why is it? Because of this constant misunderstanding, constant racism, constant division, constant segregation, constant gender issues, constant all these divisive kind of policies that the government has been pushing around the world.
Yeah.
This is Armageddon. This is Armageddon. This is how Armageddon will start.
Basically, last time Malaysia is everything that Malaysians now portray themselves to be, which is accepting and all. That was actually that last time.
Another project that I'm doing, Brian, is that I have actually set up for people that maybe who need support, and who needs to some coping skills, because our world is moving so fast, and we just don't have time to slow down. So this support group is called Kasih Circle. You can find out more about it on the website, My360 Wellness Hub. And then, you just have to join. Now, currently there's 2 support group. One is called Men's Only, and this is for men's only. Another one is a mixed group. They are run by different people. The Men's Only is run by Kevin Cheng, and then the women's one is run by Maureen.
There's a women's one also, or
No,
mixed.
mixed one.
Why is there
Maureen.
no women's one?
The women's one will come later.
Okay.
And then another group is for teachers only.
Okay.
And
wow.
for parents. So the women one will come later. I think there's a lot of women's group out there already, but there's very few that is really focused just on men. So we don't want to because resources are very limited, so we want to focus on the areas where there is a gap. And when there is a gap anywhere, then we will set up a circle, for that particular
Yeah,
group.
I wanted to ask, so where do you guys hold these meetings?
Online.
Online?
Yes.
Okay.
So the men's group is 2nd and 4th Tuesday, and then the women's group is the mixed group is 1st and 3rd.
So what is
Tuesday.
so what is the focus of the session or the agenda?
Normally the focus is to it's a psychosocial thing where we teach them, we talk about different themes and different topics, and the idea is that they are able to share their problems with a group of people that are non-judgmental, non-critical, that basically provides like aftercare
safe
support,
space?
a safe space, and for someone to hold space for them to express all their problems and all that .
Okay.
People sometimes just need to talk.
Yeah.
they need to have this kind of discussion. And, of course, podcasts, you always call the experts and all that, but everybody is an expert in their own life, but they don't have this kind of platform for them to talk. So I want to create a circle so that they can have a platform. Within a circle, it's very egalitarian. There is, there's no leaders or anything like that, although everything is managed and monitored through a team. But everybody there, have a right to say and to lead and to
just share.
To share, their feelings. So there has been some really, really good sharing, and I'm really happy with some of the progress that are made by the members.
So how do they find it again? Sorry.
You just have to go to the My 360 Wellness Hub, and then just look for Kasih Circle. And then, you will find it there.
Okay.
It's a group support,
All right, guys, we've reached the end of the episode. I just want to give a shout out one more time to ARC Holistic Wellness. Thanks for sponsoring this episode. So yeah, guys, if you're interested to go and check out this hyperbaric oxygen chamber therapy, which is just one of the few other therapeutic services that they offer, head down to Jayawan, the school. It's located on the first floor, and I'll put more information in the description below. And guys, I hope you enjoyed seeing Dr. Lenny on this episode. I definitely did. This is a really long episode. I think it's almost 4 hours. Hopefully it's not gonna be too tedious for me to edit this. And guys, thoughts, comments, leave a like, subscribe. If you listen up to this point, definitely subscribe. If not, I don't know what you were doing listening the whole time. But yeah, guys, if you want to see her back on again, do say it in the comment section. And guys, thank you for your support all, up to this point, and we'll see you in the next episode.
To my homies, I'm missing my oldies, my brothers, my cronies. We all went to court, but before only courts that we knew were the ones where we were shooting dice, selling Kobe. To a legend, rest in peace to the old me, rest in peace to my brothers, rest in peace to my whole team. The oldest, I'm missing my shawty.